Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our fourth and final set of today. Duck Club and JUSTF6, some former SPL talent on the side of Duck Club, up against some of the SCC/SOC powerhouses in JUSTF6 from the European region. And so we get to see another clash of North America versus Europe, and maybe kind of a clash of the metas here. It's J Mac Tucker joining me here for our final set today. Is going to be Mifflin on the desk. And what a great set that we get to end out on, seeing some of the former SPL players now fighting for another opportunity for themselves to get back in the SPL.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the battle of individual talent versus teamwork, right? Duck Club is a group of guys who've been very successful in their own right, who have just kind of like shored up and made a team to try and play into the SPL, whereas JUSTF6 is a squad that has been playing together for years, man. I think it's been 2 or 3 years since the conception of this team, and they've been playing together consistently throughout that entire period. I'm going to be very excited to see how these two squads match up.
Yeah, I mean, JUSTF6 has been kind of culminating themselves over the course of the last couple of years, and they've slowly been moving one member here or there, adding another person here. Masskill, probably the most notable one to be added to this roster, and one to really keep your eyes out for in this set. But if you missed into the action, make sure and go back and watch. I mean, we had two 2-1 sets go through today, one 2-0 earlier on, and now we're into our fourth and final set. The loser of this match has to face off against Thunderhead tomorrow for an elimination match. We'll have 2 top-side bracket matches tomorrow, 2 bottom-side matches. So we'll send 2 people home tomorrow, but 2 more teams will continue their advancement. And 1 more team today will at least continue their advancement in the winner's bracket. Let's take a look at that bracket and see all of the beauty that is before us on this weekend. As I said here, Duck Club, one of the SPL talents. You have Ducky Hurrywin specifically coming just out of the SPL and then picking up a former world champion in Moswall, picking up Snoopy here, and then Luconium, who was a top contender in the SCC out of that jungle role to kind of formulate this team.
But it is worth noting that there are some, I don't want to say roster swaps, it's role swaps for some of these notable players. Hurrywin is not going to be playing mid. He's ceded that role to Moswall, coming from that Splice days, right? That guy who was able to dominate on things like Opwash and Zeus before Opwash and Zeus were popular. So where are we going to put Hurrywin? He's going to support. And I think that this is going to be a very interesting fit for this guy. I mean, he was one of the most selfless mid laners you'll ever see. I've had the opportunity to talk to Kabam. He said, man, my mid laner just won't farm. He just won't do it. He keeps giving all the farm to Sam for soccer. He keeps giving all the farm to like PBM. Well, if you're going to be that selfless, you might as well play the role that rewards you for it. I'm excited to see how well Hurrywin has adapted to this port role.
Which is so wild compared to some of the other mid laners that were in the SPL who were the complete opposite. They were the give me all of my farms. Shinto specifically out of that mid was the most farmed mid laner in the entire league. And it wasn't even close. I mean, it was by 10s, if not 20s, as far as GPM is concerned here. But we get to see Ducky go back into the solo lane, and it's one of those players that gets talked about time and time again is when are we finally going to see Ducky get that breakout opportunity? When is he going to get that team that really lets us see just how strong this player is? And maybe we'll get to see that here on Duck Club.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's titular Ducky on the Duck Club, right? But Ducky is a guy who has been struggling to find success for a couple of years now. I think he's been kind of hovering around the bottom half to like lower half of the SPL for about 2 or 3 years, really struggling to find a team that can utilize him, I would say, because Ducky on his own holds his own for the most part. He'll win some lanes occasionally. He's got a pretty diverse god pool, gone on record for saying that he doesn't really like playing the Odins, the Herculeses of the world, but still has had very good success on those styles of pick. But I'm going to talk about him, bro, because he's in the room. I got to do it. It's Hurrywin. I think that is the largest question mark for this team. And I never thought I would say that about Hurrywin. I never thought it would be he's the question mark. But with this role swap being so drastically different from the mid lane, you got to worry about how well and how quickly he's made that change. How long ago was it? Like 2-3 months he was just playing mid? Now he's already on support competing for his role in the SPL? Wild.
Yeah, I mean, not even that. It's only been, maybe even 6 weeks that we saw him competing on the world stage in that mid lane. And now we see him swap over to support. And now we get to talk to him just a little bit and kind of talk to him about this transition specifically. And Hurrywin, I kind of want to open up the conversation kind of talking about that. What's it been like moving from that mid-roller role where everything's kind of centered around you to now wanting to kind of be that center of attention, that pillar for your team here in support?
Yeah, I would actually argue it's the game is very much so more centered around me now that I'm in the support role. I think I can control the pace of the game a lot more and kind of decide, just kind of like how our team wants to play and how we want to play in general is a lot more, I think, on the support role, at least for the early game and the mid game. Mid, I think, is a lot more of a farming role than support is. I think mid is still obviously a very important role, and you need a good player in that role. And luckily, we do have a good player in that role still. But yeah, I don't know. The support, it's the game running role, in my opinion.
Yeah, hey, as a support player, I completely agree with you on that statement there. But kind of talking about some of the players that you picked up here, you grabbed Ducky for solo lane, you grabbed Moswall, Luconium, Snoopy. Kind of tell me, what was some of your process on, kind of building this team to get ready for this event?
So, I mean, well, we just wanted to make the best team that we could with the players that are the easiest to work with. And so that's kind of a culmination of the requirements that we came up with and the criteria for who we chose and like how we came together in general. Everyone's just really easy to work with and really easy to mold. And everyone's really, it's not hard to get anyone on the same page. I feel like our practice time that we've had, although limited, has been really, really productive.
Well, Erwin, it sounds like you got a good team behind you. It sounds like you got a good head and shoulders for this event. I wish you luck in your set, and good luck. I'll let you get back with the team.
Yes, sir.
A lot of confidence coming out from Herwin. I like the statement there. Mid was the farm role. Now it seems that everything is actually centered around him and that support. And we do see very often those supports are kind of leaving their lanes fairly early in the game. 3, 4, 5 minutes. We're seeing them kind of rotate out. At least that's how it was. Now, kind of with the bringing back of the obelisk here, or the bringing of the obelisk, I should say, not bringing back. We kind of see supports stick to this side of the map a little bit more, and they really are kind of those pillars of getting that early game lead.
Yeah, I mean, to quote PBM, you're trying to get active. That's the whole job of the support. It's either go control the obelisk, go control mid lane, try and get involved somewhere on the map, make sure that you're at least making the rotations, matching what the opposition is doing. It's very similar to jungle in that way, in that you're always going to get involved. You're always everywhere. It's your job to be at a team fight. If the enemy support is there and you're not, it's a failing on you, which is why I think it is going to be a hard adaptation. He says that the game is more centered around him now, and he's right in saying so, but the responsibilities of support of not just locking yourself into a lane is a very hard transition. It's one that we've seen a lot of these laners, SPL tier, world champion talent struggle with in the past. It's not the exact same, but Scary D notably went from solo to jungle. That's a pretty similar shift up, I'd say, and he struggled mightily given a lot more time to compete at a higher level. So if Hurrywin is able to make a splash here in support day one, I'm going to be A, impressed, and B, flabbergasted, and C, impressed.
I mean, A and C are basically the same, but
No, they are literally the same.
Yeah, I get what you're saying here, Mifflin. But they are going up against JUSTF6, a team that we talked about earlier who has been together for quite some time. The newest addition to their roster was Masskill partway through Season 8, and he joined up in there on that SCC team. And because they've been around for a while, they've got that chemistry. They've been able to mesh together, and they've been able to find what works for them. And it feels like a lot of that does come around kind of Isotos and Masskill over in that mid-jungle combination. These guys have really kind of been running the center of the map against a lot of teams that they were facing up against. They've had mixed success when it comes to the SCC against some of the really top teams. They've been able to find some crucial picks, have some decent early games, but their late game was kind of where it started to falter down here. And this will be a nice kind of heat check really for both of these teams to kind of see where they're standing against each other.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I want to see JUSTF6 improve on is their consistency. Occasionally, you'll see Isotos pop off. He just has a blowout performance where he's controlling the pace of the game, or sometimes he's got a very quiet performance where he isn't able to really get involved. The same can be said of the rest of the squad, but I think that JUSTF6 got a massive boon with the pickup of Masskill. This guy has had phenomenal individual performances from day one. I remember the very first game he played with this squad, I said, jungle is one of the least plug-and-play roles. I'm going to be very patient with him. He's trying to adapt to playing around this new team. But instead, day one, Masskill showed up, and he controlled a set. So having that on your squad, having that backbone that you can lean on and rely on is going to be very useful for JUSTF6.
But with every good team, they do want to have a decent mind behind them. We actually do have the coach for JUSTF6 standing by. We have Alpha for our pregame interview to talk a little bit about his team here. Alpha, thanks for standing by for our pregame interview. Talk to me a little about your team. You've had these guys around for a little while. They've been able to build up that synergy. Masskill then joins in the roster partway through last year. How has that kind of elevated this team over the last few months?
So we made it to SCC last year, and we think that we had a decent performance given the circumstances. But we feel like our job is not done yet, so we decided to stick together coming into Season 9, and we really feel that this long-term project that is our team will really start getting its fruits once this season comes, because we have developed better synergies, and also we think that having the opportunity to play here on LAN is a great experience to play against great players like today, for example, and I think that this is going to be crucial for our development as a team.
And for your team that has, somewhat developed itself here for how long they've standing, you're going against kind of a newly formed roster.
Yeah.
Does that kind of give your team a little bit of extra confidence? Maybe, we've got the synergy because of how long we've been together kind of versus a new squad.
Yeah, we definitely feel like an advantage situation coming in against this team, but we also know that individually they are great players, really accomplished players. Even they have world champions in the roster. So obviously it's going to be a hard match. I think it's going to be a fun one as well. And no matter the results, we're going to give it all and try to put on a good show.
Yeah, just kind of quick thoughts, on how the meta has already kind of been shown here in our first 3 sets. Is it kind of meeting the expectations you thought coming to this event?
Well, I think that the NA meta is specifically concentrated in this region. We only got to play EU team, so I think that this pressure meta is going to be really interesting and see how everything turns out.
All right. Well, I'll let you get back with the team. That way you guys can strategize, get ready for picks and bans. Good luck in your set.
All right, thank you so much.
Love the confidence coming from the coach here. They've been around for a while, but I like what he said kind of at the beginning of the interview is we've got a lot to prove still, and we're here to prove it today. They are determined, and they want to show just what this team's value is, just what their worth is, and what better team to try and prove it on than against some, not just SPL, but even some former world championship talent.
I think I'm biased now. I'm an Alpha 25 fan, dude. That was a phenomenal interview. It's great to hear the energy that he's bringing. He said, this is a long-term project. He's saying, I don't care if we lose today. I don't care if we lose tomorrow. JUSTF6 is a long-term project that is going to continue to improve, and he's looking at this as a learning experience. That is tried and true, through and through, the mind of a competitor. Nothing but respect for that kind of mentality. Got to think that it's going to expand to the rest of his team. If your coach is that focused, if he's treating everything like a learning experience, it's on him to explain things to his team, show them where the mistakes are, already evaluating the North American meta as well. That's crazy stuff, man. And it's very reminiscent, I would say, of what we heard from Oxy last time we interviewed him. He said, look, we've been practicing for a very long time. We never take losses too hard because they always improve us. So that is just a great mentality to have from your coach.
I mean, step 1 is, picking the team, getting those guys together. Step 2 is going out there and playing. But the most important step 3, is learning and improving from the mistakes that have been made of the past here. And all throughout Season 8, JUSTF6 as a squad has been able to slowly improve themselves. Even if it's been one small step at a time, they've been able to slowly get their way up the staircase. And now they're trying to get towards that peak, getting a little bit closer and closer. SPL obviously is the kind of the crowning achievement that you can get there. Can you get to that last flight? But they've got to go through quite a few obstacles here, namely the team we're talking about now. And then, of course, they've got still the entire weekend here. Duck Club is just that first one. And worst case scenario from this one, even if either of these teams don't make it through till the very end, we got some real strong teams to look forward to in the SEC potentially.
We do. And silver linings, if you're a fan of both of these teams and you want to see both of them succeed here today, well, there's still a loser's bracket. There still is the opportunity to continue working towards that ending and meeting back up in the grand finals. 2 spots on the line as well for the SPL. So I'm sure every single one of these guys are hungry. And that hunger is not just locked down to JUSTF6. It's not just these SEC representatives coming in and trying to prove themselves. These are SPL guys on the side of Duck Club, which should have been Snoop Troop, by the way. But they still want to get back in. They're not SPL anymore. It doesn't matter what your pedigree is. It doesn't matter that you were a world's MVP back in Season 3. It doesn't matter if you've been playing SPL for the last 4 years. Here today, the playing field is equalized. Everyone is on the exact same footing and competing for the exact same thing, the right to play Smite at the highest level. And what better way to celebrate Smite than to watch these competitors play here today?
And I think one of the biggest matchups I'm going to be looking for, I mean, we talked a lot about Hurry in his transition to support, how he's going to be matching up against Rotwin, but I'm looking specifically over in the jungle. The praise that we've been singing of Mass Kill all throughout this opening segment, I got to talk about towards Luconium. He hasn't really had his big opportunity to really shine at the SEC level just yet, but he has had some very strong moments throughout, and he's also got a very diverse kit into his draft. I know a Wheelish is one of the gods that he really does love going towards if given the opportunity. And we don't see many junglers who have that kind of flexibility that he has. I'm very interested to kind of see how these things are going to shift around, but specifically how this EU team is going to handle the NA meta that the coach was talking about.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see. JUSTF6 has got to have been strategizing for the last couple of, well, not even couple of hours, for the last, what is that, 8 hours we've been here already. They've had plenty of time to evaluate the North American meta, see some of the drafts, the styles of picks that they're looking towards. But that is just one day of preparation, right? If they didn't really have the amount of data they would have liked, having only played against European SCC, SOC, SPL teams. So the Duck Club likely do have a slight advantage coming in. They have plenty of SPL talent that have been playing at the highest level, very willing and easy for them to bring that same meta that we saw in Season 8 here to Season 9. But I think, speaking to your point earlier of bringing up Luconium, he was the question mark for me as well. But when I look at the talent surrounding him, Ducky, Moswall, Hurrywind, Snoopy, and Kassir in the coach role, this is not a squad that would pick up dead weight. This is not a squad that is desperate to find a teammate. They're not just scrounging the bottom of the barrel. They're not. They have a line. There's a line of people that would have loved to have played jungle for this squad. So there is a reason that Luconium is here playing with these guys. It's because every single individual member of this team has faith in Luconium to play at their level, and that's all the endorsement I need. I'm not going to put a question mark on his name, which is why earlier I brought up Hurrywind. It's just that role swap that is concerning me.
You know, kind of talking about, Coach Kassir, he's been around the scene for quite some time, I believe at least as early back as Season 5, where we kind of first got to see him bring himself into the light. He even subbed in during Worlds qualifiers at one point for his team at that. I believe he was teaming with, or he had Lasbra, Genex, and some of those other players on the team. So he's played with and against some of the best players in the world. So he's got that mind. He's got that play style down. He kind of knows what to look for in a lot of players and a lot of teams. So I'm very excited to see what Kassir has been able to put together with this squad in particular. It will be just a moment before we get here into picks and bans, but man, these two teams, I think this is one of the matchups I've been most excited for today, just because, one, we get to see how some of the old SPL guards are going to be doing, but also we get to see how an SCC team that has had time to kind of build themselves up, a team that has really had the opportunity to finally get their full squad ready to go and see how they can compete up against some of these top squads.
Yeah, I just can't get over how Alpha 25, the coach of JUSTF6, worded it. It is a long-term project. They are not looking for the short-term reward. They're not replacing individual members unless they absolutely have to. This is a team. These guys are a squad, and that's a beautiful thing to see in Smite, because it feels like specifically in Smite throughout history, it's all right, guys. How do we win now? How do we find our dub today? Is our junglers playing weak? Get rid of them. You know what I mean? It is a lot of role swaps. We even had a little bit of roster drama with some of the teams coming in a little bit earlier today. And JUSTF6, despite struggling at times, consistently finding themselves a little bit more so towards the middle of the pack, they have stuck together year in and year out, continually improving and iterating on previous versions of themselves. And it's just a great mentality to see. They came in today as competitors, and I am going to give them the full respect of that. I have got very high expectations of JUSTF6.
And I mean, that mentality that the coach, and I can only assume that all of his players on his team also have, is very reminiscent of two in particular teams that have done something very similar. Panthera, all the way back in Season 2, coming from SCC, then shooting their way all the way up into becoming world championships back-to-back. And then the same thing can be said with the Leviathans, with their long journey that they had through the SCC,
Sanguine,
coming into the SPL. Sanguine at that time, team that people were saying, these guys don't deserve to be here. Why is this team out here? And then they have a bit of a struggle in their first SPL season. And then they come back this past year with the Leviathans, making one roster change up over the entire course of it. Keeping that core has been kind of that big benefit for some of these big teams out here. And we'll see how well that can pay off here for JUSTF6, this EU SCC squad.
Yeah, I mean, but they do have a very steep hill to climb, right?
It's not going to be easy.
It is tough that the first step of their journey is through the Duck Club. I mean, that's a low roll on the bracket, right? You don't feel great having to line up against them absolutely first, considering that this is going to be one of the favorites of new teams coming in. I mean, it's just got so much talent behind them. But it is going to be a great heat check. If JUSTF6 win here, I might just have them going all the way.
This is our first shot into the picks and bans for set number 4, game number 1. Duck Club will be your first pick, and they're going to take two of the most potent assassins that we've seen today off the board immediately in Fenrir and Circuit, and then Izanami Klina. After a strong performance in the last set, JUSTF6 don't want anything to do with that god, and they're just going to keep up the assassin bans here. Why stop at just 3? Let's add a 4th one in with Best Stat.
Yeah, Duck Club had the Assassin tab open and refused to look anywhere else. It is worth noting that Fenrir and Circuit likely are a little bit more so support bands, especially now with the Obelisk as it is. They're incredibly mobile assassin supports that can just walk up, steal some flowers, and then essentially double dash away, jump away, Ragnarok CC immunity away out of those situations as well. So I think that is the respect that Duck Club are tossing towards those top 2 picks, and then we all know why Bastet's banned. That god's just very strong right now. The displacement is just so potent through walls.
Hey, a god that's very strong that we haven't seen a whole lot of today, Yamoja. Picked up for just F6, and then Amaterasu on the other side. We've seen just how strong that god is, and all of the, the buzz around this god coming into the LAN. We kind of had some expectations for Amaterasu. A lot of teams are saying, yeah, this god is kind of crazy. Her itemization early is kind of crazy, and we've been seeing the success that this god has. And then pair that Yamoja with the Soul potentially to round out the dual lane of just F6.
There it is.
But finally, it only took 3 sets and jumping into the 4th one to finally get it. Atlas will see his first true competitive game in the SPL.
Yeah, so the failings of Atlas on release were the fact that he had no damage. That's the only thing that was wrong with him. His CC output was still incredibly strong. His ability to keep people in combat, a global ultimate, good defense shred on the ultimate as well. But the fact that he legitimately just couldn't clear waves and couldn't put threat onto people made it very difficult to play this pick. So every single hot fix or every single bonus balance, we've seen some slight adjustments to Atlas until just this point where I think he has hit a critical tipping point. He now does just enough damage to generate threat. His CC has gone unchanged essentially still, incredibly strong. And now I think Atlas has found himself near the top of support priority picks. This god is incredibly strong, a good lane bully, decent transition into the late game, great lockdown. I expected to see a lot more Atlas than what we've seen so far. Good to know that Duck Club's got him on the radar.
Well, this is one of the first times we're seeing SPL talent kind of bring their way here, and we do know that between SCC and SPL, there is always a couple of changes and a couple of differences in that meta. Maybe Atlas is that one difference here, and it will be on the new support in Hurrywin, so we'll get to see how he performs with this new god. I've been seeing some of his ranked play with him. I mean, this god is crazy. Hurrywin has been crazy on this god, so I have high expectations for the Duck Club with this pick in particular. But Tyr on the other side for just F6, a god that we don't see very often, usually in the hands of Ducky, more often than not himself, but instead it'll be for just F6. They'll ban away Dodgy Thoth, and the Duck Club will keep that assassin tab open. They'll throw Gilgamesh, who kind of might as well be somewhat of an assassin at this point, though he is still considered that warrior, and then a Wheelish will be banned away. And we saw a few of these kind of teaser hovers before, and once again, we'll see another teaser hover of this Giannis. It's just not going to get locked in, man.
Yeah, someone needs to get El Leon out of the booth. Your set's over, bud. Chiron locked in. Going to have a good damage output. I think that does mean we will likely see a Hunter in mid for just F6 that will put Soul and Yamoja together in the long lane, but there is flex potential between those two. Chiron and Soul could very easily switch it up themselves. I think you're right to bring up the Tyr versus Amaterasu matchup. I think that is a matchup that is going to heavily favor Amaterasu until around levels 5 or 6. Around level 6, once you've got 2 or 3 points into the power cleave for Tyr, that's when his sustain is going to tip over and make it very, very difficult for Amaterasu to find trades where she is finding value in her own right. So we could see a highly contentious early game in the solo until it slowly mellows out and becomes more so about rotations.
Yeah, I'm very curious where this Chiron and Soul will pan out here. Sotos has been loving the Soul. He's been able to get a lot of very early pressure on this god. So having Soul go to mid or over to duo lane in the hands of their Hunter could be an option there. We'll see whether it be Sotos or Toddy who grabs that god. 2 more picks here still for the Duck Club. They've got 2 of their frontliners and they've got their carries. So the duo lane has been rounded out. So it all comes down to what the mid and what the jungle is going to be here. And Laconium kind of has the pick of the litter. He's got a lot of I say that, but they've been banning like basically every assassin away from him at this point.
Yeah, no, not the pick of the litter. The opposite, rather.
He's got the pick of whatever litter he's got capable of here. I mean, I know that I talked about the Wheelish earlier. Well, Duck Club banned that away from him, so he doesn't get to play it. They've had the one Dodgy and the Kalina. Instead, it'll be a Merlin, who's been a god and works very well with this double flat pen meta that we've been seeing in the mid lane. We saw good success out of him previously. Maybe there is still quite a few decent picks out there. We do see Laconium now going over towards Susano.
This is a very high CC team from Duck Club. Atlas got great lockdown. Dazzling offensive from Amaterasu going to initiate a lot of these fights as well. Susano is going to make it very difficult for things like Set to perform, even Chiron. going to struggle up against this ultimate. And then once you do get to these objectives, the burn and area control, Ho Yi with the ultimate for area control, burn potential from Merlin is incredibly strong. Duck Club have got a tried and true classical knowledge Smite composition. I mean, this is the style of draft that you'd expect to see at any given year of competitive Smite. Whereas on the other side, JUSTF6 have got themselves a double hunter composition, one physical, one magical, with incredibly strong scaling from set as well. I think JUSTF6 would very much so like to slow down the pace of this game. It's kind of reminiscent of that European style in that they're not playing for that early game aggression. They're playing for that late game 5-on-5 scaled team fight.
And I'm again kind of going towards this Atlas. We talked about the protection shred that his ultimate provides. Also works on these objectives too. You drop that in a giant AoE circle there. Now a lot of teams are going to be able to kind of fight into that one. Obviously the full benefit of it does come from holding the charge the entire time and then firing that beam out. But even just one quick tick, fire the beam, you still get upwards of 15 to 20% protection shred on any objective. Get a good god like Merlin and Ho Yi to burn it down. A little worried for objective play here for Duck Club.
And there's some hidden synergies as well with this draft. Susano, when he's channeling his own ultimate, will keep you kind of locked into the circle slightly. If Atlas is there as well, you're locked in and stuck. You're shooting the beam off at the same time. The knock-up is going to set up for that defense shred as well, creating even more damage output. I think the Duck Club have come away, again, should be Snoop Troop, with a very strong composition.
Look, we can't be going on with Snoop Troop and stuff like that because then one of us is going to slip up and actually just call them out legitimately instead of Duck Club.
Dave, call them Snoop Troop.
Now they're gonna be Duck Club, at least as far as our official stuff is concerned. Duck Club up against JUSTF6, former SPL and some SCC talent here up against the SCC European squad of JUSTF6. I'm excited to see how this first set goes. I mean, at first I was like, Duck Club versus JUSTF6, this is going to be good. And then seeing the confidence from Coach Alpha 25 come in here, this has got a whole new wind under its sails here. I'm very excited.
It does, and I'm sure JUSTF6 are very kind of cognizant of the fact that they aren't the favorites in this matchup. These guys are the underdogs, at least in my mind, and I'm sure the fans at home likely agree considering just the pedigree that Duck Club are bringing to this set. So that should take a little bit of the weight off. You've also got a double elimination on the back of your mind. So you're saying, even if we do lose here, we can move on, continue playing. But the same can be said of Duck Club. Sure, there's some pressure on them to win, but they don't necessarily need to do it today.
Yeah, this is going to be a big set and one that you do not want to miss. Duck Club versus JUSTF6 in our fourth and final set of day number one. Winner, well, they move on in the winner's bracket at the very least. The losers, they're not out just yet. They will move on to lower bracket. They still have more time to come back through here. We are sending 2 teams at the end of it all. Out of these 10, only 2 will make it up into the SPL to go up against the 6 teams that have already been guaranteed.
Yeah, and again, the grand prize being an SPL slot. It gets you
a good prize.
Guaranteed salary. It gets you the opportunity to compete for these large prize pools, worlds, playoffs, things along those lines. Coaches have got a slight boon this year as well.
Good.
Yeah, these guys would love to have that opportunity going forward. But again, JUSTF6, steep hill to climb in Duck Club. Duck Club have got to play against a team that has been playing together for an incredibly long time. I kind of framed it earlier as individual talent and pedigree up against a squad that has been honing themselves for years on years now.
Yeah, 2 teams that really have a lot to prove with each other and a lot of things to prove against each other. Let's see what happens in game 1.
It is game number 1 and a highly anticipated one. JUSTF6 score up against the Snoop Troop.
I like Snoop Troop. I'm a big fan of Luconium Pandemonium.
Oh.
Right?
That could be
that's a fun one.
We did have a Pandemonium team, right, in the SEC.
Yeah, see, there you go.
And so I think there's some carryover there as well.
If they make it to the SPL, petition to change one of the brands completely.
Right. Maybe it'll come full circle. Maybe it'll come full circle, and this team will take the Valhalla Valkyrie spot, and Ducky will just be right back on the Valks, right?
That'd be, I'm okay with this. I like this universe that we could live in.
Yeah, it's an all right universe. Look, you talk
Sell
about,
more onesies.
You talk about the teams that are favored going into a weekend like this. Of course, the Oni homies. Of course, the Winter Dogs. This Duck Club team is one of the other teams that people and fans and viewers are assuming. Nice double pull by
Hurry, calm down, dude.
Are assuming will be competing for one of the 2 SPL spots by the end of the weekend. Luconium's found the in-cage in mid, but not enough damage. Naturally, Sotos turns around a lot of it on the Susano. That's an important dodge there from Luconium. That 2 hits from the Soul. And the Susano's having a bit of a rough time. But Gore, I think the point stands that this Duck Club team has very high expectations attached to them.
And here's what I've learned in the first minute of gameplay so far.
Okay.
They want to fight, too. It's not just high expectations. They want to prove that they have that capability. Maybe not why they're fighting. I think they just all want to be aggressive. But it feels very reminiscent. Like, when I think of Snoopy, for a lot of people, you should be thinking back to Cog Red. At least that's, like, where I remember seeing him make that debut. It was absolutely insane. And the fact that they lost in the semis of that year at Worlds was nuts, considering what you expected out of that team. And I feel like he brings a lot to this duo lane, so I'm really excited to see how he's going to handle this, plus especially against Rotwin and Toddy. We've been watching them pretty much all last year. But JUSTF6 is this team on the other side, to talk about them for a second, that for a majority of the year, they were very reminiscent of, I mean, they're the only EU team I know that consistently went to 3 games. Unfortunately, almost always lost those 3-game sets.
Yep.
But they always went to 3. And they looked really good in the games they won. The problem was that it was just so inconsistent for them. When they picked up Maskill, they got a little more consistent, but I'd like to see if this offseason and the way Season 9 has been treating them is just a lot better than what we got out of them last year.
God, Hurrywind is just obnoxious with this Atlas. The double pulls have been there, and all of this lane pressure has just been seeded over to the Duck Club duo lane. That's a nice purple buff invade.
Ooh.
Looked like, was that
That was
Rotwin who
Rotwin,
used
yeah.
the hog? Luconium now solo invades the red, gets it, but is it first blood given over to JUSTF6? It sure is. Rotwin's the one who picks it up. And so less than ideal for JUSTF6, but uh-oh, Ducky being dove. And will Listimics try the dive? You've got a heal in the health bar, but Ducky sustaining up just enough. And so it'll only be the 1 kill to JUSTF6.
I like Ducky's Amaterasu in the past, so I expect it to, again, maybe struggle a little bit early on in the lane phase, but once it starts to come to team fights,
Did Ama get picked last year, Gore?
not a whole ton. I
if
know
you-
she
if
did
you-
a little bit.
She was a picked god at some point.
Yeah, she
right?
definitely,
Okay.
everybody got picked last year. I
Right.
do remember that. Nox
God,
was the
when did-
only
when
last
did
one on
we-
the list,
when
and,
did we
and she
see
hit it in
Ama?
Worlds.
I don't know. It's been a minute since we've seen Ama.
Nika played her a couple times last year for
Yeah.
sure.
Much
Ducky
less,
might have.
much less like prioritized though, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
Season 7 was like her year.
I have never seen, not never. I haven't seen this level of Amaterasu priority in quite some time, and has flexed the muscles a little bit so far here this week. And Ducky, you assume, will look good as this game goes on. Maybe no surprise that Listimics having a good time up against the Amaterasu in that lane. The tier, a pick that we haven't seen yet this week, has the ability to control that lane. Luconium ticks over to level 5. Mastkill is there as well. And so the brawling and dueling potential, Gore, of both of these junglers now hits a peak. And the playmaking potential of the Duck Club jungler, notably, I think, with his ultimate, starts to come to mind. Wouldn't be surprised if after some early game fighting, we start to see some scrapping with these junglers leading the charge.
Yeah, honestly, I think Mastkill, again, someone to keep your eyes on, because I can already tell, based on small interactions, that they really want to get into a lot of these engagements and cause some trouble. And unfortunately for Luconium, I mean, you know, he's keeping up in terms of level as of right now, but having that first blood against you, slowing things down a little bit, I definitely expect it to be a few more minutes of JUSTF6 in control before we get to see some major pop-offs from Duck Club. Luckily, I think they have a lot of good fights. I mean, Soul might not be the easiest to gank, and Merlin follow-up damage isn't going to be crazy, but when you pair that with the Susano, it should be enough to maybe find a kill onto Sodos. I think Listimics could be an early target until we see a little more protections. That breastplate definitely slows down a lot of ganks over there, though. It makes it harder for both Luconium and Ducky. And so I turn my attention over there to Toddy, who's been coasting pretty, I don't even want to say comfortably, because Hurrywind's been absolutely harassing that lane with pulls.
Right.
But ultimately hasn't felt too pressured out so far. I'd like to see a little bit of pressure maybe on the duo lane, and it looks like Luconium's feeling the same way.
Comfortable given the amount of pressure that Toddy has received, I think is an
Yeah.
okay way of looking at
The fact that he
one.
hasn't died is very
Right.
impressive.
And Hurrywind's just been double pulling all laning phase long. There's so much to talk about, I feel like, with both of these teams. Maswal, somehow, we haven't really mentioned yet, a guy who has won the Smite World Championship at the highest level with Splice, of course. In the mid lane, should be a powerhouse here for this Duck Club team, as the, what's our literal term for that? Scepter? Gets Hurrywind. It's causing a little bit of havoc in the in the totem side.
It took me a second to catch up. It was like the scepter. I was like, what scepter? Nobody's bought a scepter, Dave. That's called
Stepped on the
spear.
thing. Right, Spear of the Magus. Come on, Dave. That's Spear of Desolation.
Yeah, no, the Scepter.
But at any rate, I think Maswal, hopefully throughout this week, will be a point of conversation. If you can turn back time a little bit, return to Smite World Championship form, things looking good. What is that damage, though? Onto Luconium, and it finds its way onto Hurrywind as well, and JUSTF6 have found 2 kills, nearly a third. And JUSTF6 are so low in the mid lane, but Maswal will not have the damage, and it is a 2-kill swing for JUSTF6 in mid.
And again, really big ones. You get a kill onto the jungler, which is going to slow down Luconium, but you get Hurrywind, who at this point has been a nuisance, but otherwise hasn't really had too much to say. Hasn't had the setup for the kills that we've seen. Rotwin, look, you pick up anything, the Amaterasu in this case, but anything over a Yemoja, and it has to have a good showcase. And as of right now, we're waiting to see what Ducky will be able to provide. But if you're JUSTF6, you're more than happy to show off why Yemoja was one of the top picked and most banned gods last year.
Yep.
And it is strictly because of what she can bring to the team fights. And as of right now, Rotwin has been doing it well.
Snoopy misses the stun, but has some good damage with his ultimate. Toddy will have to gallop away. Snoopy maybe just looking for some lane pressure there. Will back away, clear out this wave. Maybe sees an opportunity to go back. Holds his beads. Rotwin's here. I think maybe Snoopy able to see Rotwin round that corner, and so he'll just snag himself this purple buff and safely head back to lane, because Gord, it just kind of feels like everywhere Rotwin rotates right now is turning into some level of pressure, some type of kill, and that's something that we saw from Hurrywind early in the laning phase, but has not quite translated. My goodness, that's translated. The damage smacks Maskill in the face. And the ability to teleport right back in, well placed by Luconium. Signs of life now from the Duck Club. Needed a kill desperately after the way that the early game has gone. And they'll lean on their jungler to get it done.
And I like the way that they're able to play this, because now Sodos is in an awkward position. In fact, if Maswal decided to get aggressive there with Hurry and Luconium still, even though Luconium was relatively low on health and Maswal was low on mana, I think they might have been able to get a kill onto Sodos if they wanted to get hyper aggressive. That being said, I'm always happy to see them play safely. What a ricochet from Snoopy. And again, talk about a guy who's been doing it, I think, literally since Hu Yi came out. So something that is always going to be fun to watch. I just like the pace that they've taken it. Duck Club definitely did not get off on the right foot and didn't start this game the way they wanted to. But they haven't drifted too far behind in terms of gold. And I think that that's really the pace that they're trying to keep up. They recognize, guys, we goofed up. we messed up a little bit. Let's make sure that we can just maintain for a little bit and then see what we do. I also looked it up for you just because now that we've swapped over to Ducky, I can say this. It has at least been one full competitive year.
Yeah, it's been.
Since we've watched him play. 1 week. No, 1 year. Since he played at Amma. No, I can't make it match up with this.
Ducky or Amma has been played in general.
Oh, no, Ducky specifically.
Ducky has played
Ducky
Amma 1 year.
Did not play her last year.
Did not play her at all last year. This is an opportunity for the Yemoja to be dealt with and knocked around like a, I don't know, what gets knocked around, a ping pong ball.
Yeah, sure. I went to a pool table.
Right, I was trying to think. I nearly said a bowling ball. And the only way a bowling ball gets knocked around
with the gutters up, or the
if
bumpers
you play
up.
like me and you put the bumpers up. So in my world, Rotwin knocked around like a bowling ball. But at any rate, the Yemoja.
Rock you like a hurricane.
Rock you like a hurricane, that's right. Finally taken down is this Yemoja. And so the regaining of control now for Duck Club Gore over the last handful of minutes has been very important to watch. Don't you make fun of me.
No, I'm having
Bowling
fun.
is hardcore. Bowling is real hard. Toddy into his ultimate. Might need to make use of it, but Snoopy goes up and over. He missed single one earlier on in this game and hasn't missed him since, and he's got plenty of damage. And Snoopy gains a 2-level lead over Toddy.
And you have to look at how much they've been able to pull back in response to these kills, right? It's not just Snoopy able to find a lot of damage and a lot of control over Toddy, but finally that kill. It's also pulled the gold back in their favor and the jungle back in their favor. What was an experience deficit, still an experience deficit there for Luconium, but hasn't necessarily hurt them as much. And when you look at the net worth, he's not too far behind, and that really is. Actually, he's ahead by 100 gold right now, which is a huge deal considering what he's been able to do. So the farm game right now from Duck Club is about where you need it in order to make sure they feel comfortable going into the late game.
And I wonder now how Maskill and Luconium, how this kind of 1v1 in the jungle starts to change as this game goes on. Because it feels like Luconium, the only one really behind on Duck Club right now, and that is a nice
Oh my
fearless
God.
from Listimics. Ducky doing his best to turn something around, but Maskill continually at the forefront of the conversation of where JUSTF6 is finding their pressure. The set at 0-1 and 2 has only participated in half of the kills, but has found more pressure than Luconium, who falls down to 1 and 3 now in this game, and the tier 1 tower drops on the right side of the map. Pyromancer gonna get picked up by JUSTF6 as well, and there's no answer on the Gold Fury. And this is an important pivot point for JUSTF6. Right when the Duck Club starts to grab some momentum, JUSTF6 makes a play.
And it's really impressive. Again, JUSTF6 is a roster. Go back throughout all of last year, and save for when they picked up Maskill, they've been playing together for a while now. And so you're starting to see, I think, that comfort with everybody. Again, the shot calling and recognizing competitive play. I think Hurwin fits this support role really well with what we've heard from him as a vocalized player and things in the past. But realistically, I think you're seeing that difference in team play as of right now, which is that Duck Club, albeit 5 fantastic Smite players, do still have a little bit of growing pains, right, to go through. And I don't think this is going to be the end-all be-all. I think JUSTF6 definitely are taking advantage of small things throughout the map, and it's getting them, again, slight leads. But there's a lot that you have to go through to win this game. This is borderline even, and honestly, the way that they keep going blow for blow is very impressive to me.
I love the the flowers all get collected, the scepter comes down. And I see Rotwin, the icon, starts to sprint there. Looked like Hurrywind was on his way to that side of the map as well, and so a little bit of a race to get over. But the Duck Club able to capitalize on what they've set up for themselves. The Gold Fury on the left, Gore, that likely is where we'll see these two teams group up here in just a moment. It looks like the Duck Club, or you feel like Duck Club have this ability to burn down these objectives with Moswall. That's something that Merlin always brings to the table that we haven't seen a lot of. We haven't seen a lot of Merlin. Snoopy is in trouble. Drops the ultimate at his feet, used the Aegis as well to avoid some damage. And all of that was necessary just to keep himself alive. Is it an immediate Gold Fury pull, though, ends up being the question.
Honestly, they have the capability to do it. They've got the healing, they've got the
Snoop's gotta
damage.
go back.
And really, on the side of Duck Club, the most you have to try and steal it, I mean, Hurry, maybe Luconium?
It looks like Gold Fury will go over to JUSTF6, but it gets reset. There's just enough pressure from Duck Club to make JUSTF6 think twice.
Bye.
Luconium is an afterthought around the backside of the Gold Fury pit, and now falls to 1 and 4 on the Susano. Can Moswall make a play happen? No, he can't. Gold Fury gets taken down. It's a River's Rebuke that is up, but now Hurrywind is left alone, and Ducky will rotate in, finds the first kill of this one, and Hurrywind somehow walks away. So Gold Fury for 1 kill, but that ends up getting evened out because Luconium dies as well, and even further evened out because Snoopy dies a moment ago. Gort, you do get this idea of chemistry from JUSTF6 right now. They are playing together, kind of one by one, it feels like. Duck Club keep going in. At least able to grab a kill for Ducky. But Gold Fury and a couple over to JUSTF6.
And realistically, you get the best trade, I think, out of all of that if you're JUSTF6. Not just the kills, as you had highlighted, but it's Luconium for Rotwin if you just take the 1-for-1. And you get a Gold Fury. Like, at the end of the day, take that Scorpion. Who cares? We are going to be happy if you're JUSTF6. And so I'm assuming this is where things are going to change. There was a very early Frenzy pop from Hurwin, which I don't actually know how many people it hit. It looked like Moswall might have been just outside the range for it. I don't know if Ducky's teleport had finished channeling, so it might have just hit him. And it's little things like that that are going to make a huge difference in a lot of these team fights. It's the difference of power and push potential up against a team, pressure that you're going to be able to bring into a fight. Good on Ducky to use that teleport and get behind and join the fray as soon as possible, but I do think that there's just a little bit to clean up here right now for Duck Club to make these team fights go their favor.
Anticipate from Ducky. Listimics has used a lot of those abilities. Luconium rotates on over to Solo. Already has pulled Listimics, who's got his ultimate, and out he will go. So not enough damage yet, Core, from this 1 and 4 Susano. So 4 out of the 5 kills from JUSTF6 have landed on the Duck Club jungler. And then you ask yourself, all right, where's the turnaround? Got to be out of the jungle. That's where JUSTF6 have pulled a big lead, 15-13, 2 levels there. And that's largely mitigating the leads that Duck Club have. 1 level in mid, 1 level in support, 1 level in ADC. It's really a jungle difference right now that has kept this game kind of close.
And honestly, despite the deficit, at least earlier, and I'd have to glance back over. Okay, so now we actually do have a pretty significant gold lead for Maskill over what we saw for Luconium. Earlier he was behind, but at least had like 300 or so gold to his favor. Now he's starting to fall behind. It's about 700, 800 gold. And that is going to be enough. You know, it's a tier 1 item at base, but realistically, you're going to start feeling that pressure if it continues at this rate. Because look how free they can run around the map.
A lot of damage from Snoopy here, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. Teleport coming out as well.
Ducky.
Has Maskill done too much? Ducky rotates on over to the duo lane, but Maskill avoids the pull back in with his beads. Beads do not matter against damage, and Hurrywin's got that. Bit too much there from JUSTF6. It was a coordinated dive, but a coordinated answer from Duck Club.
I'll be honest, that might be one of the only kills we get to see from an Atlas ult throughout the year. Good on Hurry for putting the pressure on and finding him, although a lot committed from the Duck Club to just get 1 kill. Granted, it's a very worthwhile kill for him. That ult doesn't do a lot of damage, Dave. Intentionally so. So it's impressive to see Hurry pick up a kill with it. But again, we get good pulls from him, and now good pressure. All it took was 1 team fight where you force a couple of members back and you kill off the jungle, and they're putting pressure on a tier 2 like it's nothing. They're not going to be able to find it unless they want to commit very heavily. But with 2 tanks and a carry, they accomplished a lot on the left-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, they're losing just Pyro. I mean, that's not really the end of the world for them.
Right. And I like the way Ducky's build is starting to go here, Gores. Ducky's rotated into these fights. Started to be a little bit more present with the team, picks up the Shoguns, and with Snoopy, and the way that Snoopy's build is going, Crusher, Aussie, into the kin size, those two will synergize pretty well with one another, and then of course the auras from Amaterasu will help out there as well. And so I think a great opportunity here, and this is something we've seen from Snoopy at the SEC level as of late, the ability to put Snoopy in a position to just have a big game. Right, I mean, the ricochets have started to hit a little bit more consistently. The ultimate will always do some good damage. And, you know, I think Snoopy's a player who's had a lot of drive to get back to the SPL. And a game like this is a fantastic opportunity to get there.
Yeah, and honestly, the synergies, like you mentioned, between just the way they're playing and the itemization and things like that, just kind of enhances, like, the mechanical. Again, I think if you look at all 5 members of Duck Club, all you can think about, or at least all I can think about, is how mechanically talented every single one of these players are. I will, you know, give it with the asterisk, right? We've seen Luconium a lot, but not necessarily at the SPL level. And so that's something that is not necessarily questionable. I think he's been doing well enough. He's 1-4-1, so maybe not the best KDA to illustrate said point. But, you know, we've seen Moswell win a championship. We've seen Hurry, we've seen Snoopy, we've seen Ducky all on world stages. And realistically, you have to think of these players as the potential that they could have.
Right.
And if you look into the far future, it's absolutely nuts. But if you look at the right now, unfortunately, you're not getting too much. The jungle right now feels a little slow. Unfortunately, Hurrywin hasn't been able to do too much. And you can look at the player damage charts, but Luconium's at the bottom.
Luconium's at the bottom. Chance for Luconium to climb up a little bit here. Ultimate will fly through from Hurrywin. Actually clipped out some damage there. And so Atlas, support Atlas. 3rd on the damage charts right now. But Hurrywin ultimate down for what could be a fight around this Gold Fury, or Oni Fury rather. It is melting quickly. River's Rebuke up, and JUSTF6 will confirm the Fury, but Listimics has taken a lot of damage in the meantime. Typhoon is up and over from Luconium, and there's a lot of damage from the Duck Club. Luconium finally back in the kill column, avoids the death column.
Fire.
And Duck, I was gonna say Duck F6. Duck Club grab 2 kills. They drop the Oni Fury and Gore. They have eyes for the FG.
And I love this call. They've got carries.
They got burn.
And that's about all they have. But you've got burn and you've got zone potential. So this is going to be very easy to control. You have to be worried about this set. And I love that Hurry is getting the zone out, but they got to be careful here.
You cannot get it stolen by JUSTF6, and it is not. Duck Club get 2 kills, get the FG. Could be kills on the other end as well. Soto's pulled right back into the grasp, and Duck Club find their 3rd over the course of a little bit of time. Maskill and Toddy, the last 2 alive, and they are squishy. There is chase potential for the Duck Club, but instead they will turn their eyes towards the tier 1 tower. Massive spike here in game 1.
And what a great sequence for them. Not only getting that huge fight against the 2 supports. Yeah, you lose the Fury, but who cares? Because now you've got so much potential. Any gold deficit that might have existed is going to get absolutely blasted out of the water. And now you're going to be able to swing control so heavily in your favor with this FG. I really like what position the Duck Club are in now. I also want to talk about this because I saw it earlier. And I love this because Witchblade is one of my favorite items in the game, especially against a comp like what JUSTF6
Really?
has.
That's one of your favorite items in the game?
Yeah. I love picking it up.
I mean, nothing by this. I would argue if you asked 100 people what
nobody's
their
going to say
favorite item is,
Witchblade.
I think Witchblade would be said 0 times. Maybe
And you know
once,
why?
Because you're in the
No,
you're in the ball.
I was gonna say it's only the only reason I say that is because it's a very niche item. Like picking it up most of the time is not going to be helpful for your team. But when you're up against a team where you have a set soul and a Chiron, it feels really good to slow down their attack speed whenever you happen to be nearby. So that's very helpful for you and your team.
Yep.
But also paired with the Shogun's Kusari to up your attack speed plus Luconium's, but specifically Snoopy's. I just think that it's such a fun pairing that Ducky's been able to pick up here to really enable all of his team to do better while taking less. And so this is not an item that I genuinely do agree. I don't think there's anybody in the world that's going to say this is one of their favorite items other than me. But I do love it when it gets to come up just because it feels like that it's that glory of being able to counter build.
Right.
And that's exactly what it is. That
It's
is
a chess
not an
match, right?
item you're building unless it's to spite someone on the
Right.
other team.
And Ducky happens to be spiting like 3 people
Yeah,
all at once.
and it feels real good.
And it feels real good. Minute and 50 seconds left remaining on the Fire Giant buff. All the towers after Ducky finishes off the one on right will have fallen, and you're going to have 3 Phoenixes open here. And Ducky has got this. He's got a lot of split push potential. Amaterasu at this point in the game absolutely wails away on structures. And so the Duck Club Gore probably smart. They're just going to split 4 for 1, send 1 in the mid lane as kind of a flex, so 3-1-1, and you're just going to force JUSTF6 to reply.
This is where things do get a little awkward. The far split, right? With Luconium kind of hanging awkwardly around the tier 2 zone in mid.
Just
You
being
don't necessarily
sneaky.
have the easy rotations over, although if Ducky can get a solo kill or continue
Right.
controlling that fight, I mean, he has not lost a single bit of health bar and is more than happy to fight
And I
Listimics.
think Listimics already used his heal. So I saw that health tick up just a little bit. So no imminent kills. But the answer for a split pusher is always who can deal with this person one-on-one. Listimics can maybe stay alive,
Yeah.
but ultimately is not going to kill off Ducky. So if you're just F6 at this point in the game, maybe that's the best you can do. Ducky, I think, goes back to base, buys a power pot, and then teleports into the left side of this map that has maybe caught just F6 a bit off guard. But the Duck Club and Snoopy notably will be playing a little bit passively, but we're going to allow Snoopy to lifesteal up across these minions. And with 30 seconds left remaining on the FG, one big push.
30 seconds on the power play is not a lot of time to work with, but Listimics is going to kick it off.
Oh, and that is a great Fearless. Forces the beads out of Snoopy, the flicker on out from Oswald, and the jump on out from Snoopy. So
Ducky.
there's disengage, but Ducky has run down the back line, 3 versus 1, and Ducky still finds a way to get it done. The scaling has reached a tipping point for Luconium as well. Finally, this Usano is able to make some plays. The Duck Club knocked down a left side tower. And Duck Club is right. Ducky walks into the back line and grabs himself a 3 versus 1 kill.
And looks so good doing it. I just think being able to get back there, zone them as hard as he did, get a lot of the damage that we've seen out of Ducky so far. And they don't even have FG anymore and they're pushing for this Phoenix. This might actually be a danger zone.
Uh-oh, Snoopy, that's a big double Fearless. But is there anyone here to help out Listimics, who has to use his ultimate to jump away? And the Duck Club will do so as well. Fire Giant 35 seconds away from respawning, but there's a bit of a chase here. Listimics, mass kill, they all have eyes for Snoopy. Winner is his jump. He is knocked up and tossed to the side. And it's moments like this where you need to get out because these death time are so long. That is a minute without your ADC, and Fire Giant's up in 20. Gore, that could be an opening for JUSTF6.
Luckily, you still have Ducky, you still have Luconium, and I think those two are probably who I would put the steal on if someone's going to be able to make one. Unfortunately, 10 seconds away, and you've got a lot of members resetting from JUSTF6. They're about to get a Pyromancer, so it's going to make their reset even easier. This is definitely an awkward spot to be in if you're Duck Club. You are in the great spot where wards are about to fly out. I see a lot of sentries already getting dropped, but 3 in inventory. You need control of vision here because you have the numbers disadvantage. And you just have to delay this for another, let's say 25 seconds, right? 15 now for Snoopy to respawn, and let's say 10 for him to get back into the fight. And as long as you can hold on to that, you'll be fine. And the good news is, again, fire minions on left. You're going to be able to coast through this timer. Not easily, but not without any, or not with like a major rough patch. So overall, no one is going to be able to put a lot of pressure on you, cause things to be awkward. Snoopy's going to be able to buy up an item. I think he just finishes that oboe. And so it's going to be a much heavier hitting Snoopy that comes back. And all it takes is one misstep, one good pluck from someone like Hurriwind, and all of a sudden JUSTF6 are the ones falling behind again.
Got to keep your eyes on those fire minions on left as well. That's where map pressure for the Duck Club will start to build up, maybe put a little pressure onto the Titan as well. So you're gonna have immense burn if you're the Duck Club. That means JUSTF6 has gotta be here and present for this Fire Giant pull. And remember, you're not only worried about the FG if you're JUSTF6, but the fight in general. The death timers are so long and there's already a win condition on the map with the exposed and the down left side Phoenix. And the Duck Club have such objective burn that you lose a fight handily enough here. Who cares about the Fire Giant? Duck Club are just going to turn their eyes towards the Titan. Ducky is the one who wants to get it done, and he is doing it again. Sotos has lost all of his health bars, so is Rotwin, who will end up falling down second. Luconium's got a double kill after a slow start to this game. Bye-bye, JUSTF6. Duck Club, they'll take game one.
Yeah, they don't even need the FG. They don't need the kill on the Stimix. They might go for it anyway, though. I think the rest of the team, yeah, there they go. Turn and go straight towards the Titan room. They even have a fire minion wave walking in for him. This makes it just so much easier for them. And what was, 1 in 4?
1 in 4.
There for Luconium, ends at 4 in 4. That's a great turnaround for that Susano. After we saw it, I mean, he was bottom of the damage charts. He didn't really climb too much further up on the damage charts, but he got the kills.
We're going to need Fearless with 0% cooldown for Listemics here to get this game turned around. It is not
100%
there.
cooldown.
100% cooldown. I didn't know which way to word that. At any rate, unlimited Fearlesses. In order
0%
to give JUSTF6
cooldown.
a
It
chance.
never comes
It
back.
never comes back. It won't come back in this game, at least. The Duck Club Gore, shaky at the start of that game. I think chemistry in the early game was winning the day a little bit there for JUSTF6. And then Duck Club, some of that skill and that talent in experience in games like that. Not that JUSTF6 don't have it, but you see some of that history, that veteranship from Duck Club down the stretch that helped take game one.
And I really do think that, and not even just the veteranship, but like the team play, and specifically when we were talking about it, but like mechanical capabilities of individual players, I think you get to see that from Snoopy and Spades. A lot of that game, there were really good ricochets, really good autos, things like that, good synergy in items, and I think that's something that just comes from playing the game as much and as long as these guys have, when it's just like, cool, we have a comp that does X, Y, or Z. Yep. These items enable us to do X, Y, or Z, and so we can build these plus this, and all of a sudden you've got these unkillable machines in the background where Snoopy only dies because they happen to stay a little longer over a mid-Phoenix after their FG disappeared.
That's right, Gore. It's a great showing in game one for Duck Club, the SPL veterans. Can they close it out 2-0? You got to stick around and find out.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone in affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone in affection, I summon and dub it. Why you be all in my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Don't hang with it who lying for nothing. I see that we different, you riding, I double. I don't do discussions on bragging about hundreds. Don't go to of your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely could trust it. I talked to a shorty, she bagging the bugging. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I divvy the pie. I'ma give all of my people a portion to build them a fortune. I'm flipping the ride. I can't be mixy when iffy the vibe. And 40 on 50 is really the time. Why is you all on my phone like you want me? Like you wasn't pushing the kid to the side. I don't know if you thinking I'm blind. Cross on my crosses and doubt on my eyes. Done with your efforts, I'm dealing with pressures. I know it's a lesson, that's word of the wise. Dubbing the mixes I'm mixing, I know I've been missing. I needed some personal time. All the pictures, dimensions, I don't with your digits. I mean it, I'm staying inside. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone in progression is all that I wanted. The phone in affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone in progression is all that I wanted. The phone in affection, I summon and dub it.
And welcome back. Conclusion of game one goes the way of Duck Club, the SPL veterans
Snoop
and
Troop.
Luconian Duck Club.
Okay.
I will refer to them as Duck Club. You can call them Snoop Troop if you so wish to, and I guess anybody else who wishes to call them that. But as far as official goes, Duck Club with a game one victory over JUSTF6. Took a little while for them to be able to get there, but we do kind of finally see a little bit of veteranship kick in. We do get to see how these players are able to group up kind of towards that last half of the stage, and we got a pretty good look at what Atlas is able to do.
Yeah, the trajectory of that game was super weird, wasn't it? It was almost the exact opposite of what I had predicted. I had thought originally that JUSTF6 were going to go for a very slow start, wait to group up as 5, and then kind of deathball their way through the map with a double hunter composition. But instead it was JUSTF6 get like 3 kills by the 4-minute mark, are able to hit the ground running. But from there, they kind of shifted their attention. Although they had already established a lead for themselves, they go, oh, okay, well, we did it. Let's go. Okay, slow down a little bit. And you can't let off the gas. You can't take your boot off the throat of your opposition, because given that space, the Snoop Troop were able to bounce back, use superior macro play, and eventually close out this game through neutral objectives.
And plays like that is why it's so exciting to watch players like Luconium and God, and players who are really masters of gods like Susano. I mean, you see multiple different gaps that are traversed by a single god, and he just goes, okay, cool. I'm just going to wait till you do all that and then just teleport right to you and get a nice little kill here. Duck Club, a slow roll for them, to say the least, at the very beginning. And I think you're kind of right to bring up the, they let off the gas here, just F6. They get the early lead. They say, all right, that's cool. But that's something that we notice of a lot of the kind of usually the lower seeded SCC teams is once they get that lead, they sometimes don't really know what to do with it. Do we need to keep pushing it much further? Do we need to just kind of stay back? We've got the lead. There's no way that we can lose it if we just don't mess up right. But when it comes down to compositions like Duck Club has, when it comes down to tenure of some of the players like Duck Club, you can't let off the gas. You have to keep going. You got that lead, push that, shove that lead down their throat.
Yeah, and we see it in the last couple of clips as well. Before that Fire Giant had dropped, it was the Duck Club initiating fights from a gold deficit too. 3,000 gold down, doesn't matter. They start the fight on their own footing, and from there we're able to win out on the engagement and then transition it into a permanent objective or a neutral objective, be it Gold Fury, a tier 1 tower, Pyromancer, or even a very early Fire Giant. Worth noting, when the Fire Giant went to Duck Club the first time, they were still down 2,000 gold, but it was them being the proactive players. It was them choosing the engagements, making sure that even though they are playing into a deficit, they're playing on their own footing.
Do you think this one game that we see here out of Hurrywin on this Atlas has potentially warranted a ban coming his way with the amount of control that he's put out there, and maybe potential bans for the remainder of the weekend? Or maybe do you think this even kind of opens the eyes to some other teams now that we've actually gotten to see what this god is capable of?
I thought Atlas was going to be permanent banned coming into this week. I didn't think that we were going to get an opportunity to see him besides in the ban column. That's how strong I think this pick is right now. Whether or not we see the rest of the team saying, okay, look, Hurrywin has a good performance on it. This god is incredibly strong. We're going to ban it out. Yet to be seen. Maybe not going to be the case. Whether or not he's banned this next game, unless we see JUSTF6 pick up that god, I want to see it banned out.
It's going to be a very important one here. I mean, Hurrywin, we got to finally see what Atlas is capable of at a competitive level. His first official competitive game, because this is, well, the first time the god has been available at a competitive level to be played. Kind of like Kleena, Morgan Le Fay, all these gods, when they finally get that opportunity to come out and play, they usually have a big splash here. That was a nice splash in game 1 for Duck Club. Can they keep that going in game number 2? Picks and bans are here and ready to go. It will be Duck Club who will be taking first pick this time around. Just 6 have elected to hold on to that second pick slot for themselves. And as the bans start rolling in, it's a lot of the similarities that we saw last time. Serket and Izanami first 2-1 out.
Yeah, and if it's going to maintain the same, Duck Club will match it up with a Fenrir, and then I believe, what was it, a Bastet in that last slot, just sticking with that Assassin tree. Both Serket and Fenrir likely support bans. Again, that mobility just really makes it easy for those two gods in particular to steal away flowers and control obelisk pressure. Duck Club will reprise the exact same bans from game 1, where now it's all up to JUSTF6 to make the adaptations in their own right. I would like to see an Atlas ban here. I doubt we see Duck Club take it in the first slot, though. So, if Duck Club don't take it, it is an opportunity for JUSTF6 to pick up Atlas for themselves. But despite being incredibly strong, Atlas is a high-performance god. That god has a very high skill floor. It takes a lot of practice to be adept at it. So we'll see if JUSTF6 have got that in their back pocket.
A god who got a little bit of a heat check in the second wave of bans in the last game makes it through his first pick for Duck Club, Gilgamesh, as a first pick because Amaterasu does get banned away by JUSTF6. They don't want to deal with that god any longer. And instead, it's going to be a first pick Ho Yi out of JUSTF6. And the most important thing to note out here, I mean, 100% win rate on this god, which is the most wins and the most success that he's had in like the last 8 months of play to be noted here. So seeing Ho Yi and Soul as a top, they really want to get some carries picked up here very early on for JUSTF6.
Yeah, double hunters locked in immediately. That's a good deal of late game scaling. You should have relatively decent pressure wherever you land this Soul. Ho Yi, not so much, not exactly known for his lane pressure, more so his ability to take the 1v1s once supports rotate out, or if he's left alone with the mid laner and they do elect to send him towards the center of the map. Decent 1v1 potential there. But I don't think JUSTF6 have addressed the issues that Duck Club were able to bring in those mid to late game team fights. We could be looking at essentially just about the exact same style of draft from Duck Club. That could be an Atlas lock in here if they so choose, but instead, Hurrywin's going to flex his wings a little bit. Say, hey, I know I'm new to the role, but I've got an eclectic god pool, I guess, if you're going to lock in Bacchus. So no complaints. It's a very aggressive style. It means that he can hit the ground running very quickly, which is where Duck Club stumbled earlier on.
Bacchus, a god that we saw banned once earlier on, and it felt like kind of a stray ban out of nowhere, and now a second pick for Duck Club, which is probably the most interesting part is not even just picking up the Bacchus. It's picking up Bacchus in top 3 when we've only seen one ban and really no other player or team kind of look towards this god. They'll pair that Bacchus up with a Chiron, potentially, unless that Chiron does go towards mid. But JUSTF6 go for a pick that always kind of seems to be that counter right behind the Bacchus, in that a Wheelish is a lock-in for the final one before the wave of bans here for JUSTF6.
Yeah, Gravity Surge has got good targets, not only the belly flop from Bacchus, but I believe it's called Hero's Advance from Gilgamesh. The leap, the jump. She could pull that
The Gilgamesh incoming.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, she could pull you out of that, exactly. And they've already got some knockups on their side. Soul, that ultimate is a knockup. Pretty hard to combo with Gravity Surge, but certainly possible. Ho Yi has got a knockup with his leap as well. So there is some decent synergies from JUSTF6. If they are looking for some late game, the bridge being a Wheelish feels pretty nice. Her early game is strong enough that you can generate threat and create space for the Soul and the Ho Yi. But I want to see what the front line is around JUSTF6 draft, and Cerberus is certainly one place to look immediately. It's going to have a large bit of AoE CC. It's going to set up for the Gravity Surge incredibly well, but there really is just the Cerberus burning beads. A Wheelish can do it, sure, to be sure, but that's single target. It's going to be more so on the Cerberus to facilitate a Wheelish rather than the other way around.
And really only Ho Yi is going to get the Hunter, the enemy Hunter's beads at best if he's going into a boxing match. I really do like the Yemoja ban here by Duck Club, because Yemoja, one of the better Guardians in the game at being able to knock people out via the way of that Riptide, whether it be your own allies or enemies and whatnot there. So banning that one away, a very strong one. And then the Ares right after, because of the lack of CC immunity on this team in their front line, Gilgamesh and Bacchus, with none in their kit, would be forced to buy beads. But now we're going to see a god, first time this day in this tournament, Loki picked up in the jungle going over to Luconium.
Yeah, you know, it could go to Luconium, but I'm remembering the old guard show match where Maswal locked in Loki in the jungle. That could be pretty cool. Zeus locked in definitely fits Maswal's style, so maybe Luconium will be piloting a Loki, but I am hoping against hope. Just for a raw spice factor, that we see a little bit of a role swap here.
Why would they need a role swap?
Because Maswal went like 15-2 on Loki, and that's super cool.
Sure, but you're also giving Maswal one of his World Championship MVP gods in Zeus, potentially, if you just leave him there in the mid lane.
Yeah, the Snoop Zeus troop could be cool, to be sure, but I want to see Maswal play Loki. That's all it is to it.
What if we get Loki mid?
That would be so cool, but I don't think that works anymore because it's not a decoy. It's like...
I mean, it does still do damage to the minions, though.
Yeah, like 20.
I mean, you could kind of max it out a little bit earlier. Probably
I
not the
wouldn't
best.
do that.
I definitely wouldn't do that either. Enough about Loki, though. Let's talk a little bit about Horus. We saw him picked up earlier. He's received buffs coming into Season 9. That's given him a little bit more base healing, a little bit more base damage. And he's a very aggressive support, and one that synergizes really well with the Wheelish.
Yeah, that knock-up, the updraft, going to help out a lot with the Wheelish's Gravity Surge. Another way to burn beads consistently in these team fights as well. So I do like the Horus pickup. It's going to make your in-gauge a little bit one-note, I believe. It's either going to be a blink in from Cerberus, or it's going to be Horus going in on his own. That's a very W-key style of play up against what the Duck Club have brought, which is anti-W key. Bacchus has got great disengage for his team. Belly flop going to make it very hard for some of these picks for JUSTF6 to engage these fights. If Zeus is under threat, he's like a squid. He just inks, which is, you know, Thunderstorm or whatever for Zeus. Just drops it at his feet. Makes it very difficult for gods like a Wheelish or Horus to stick to him as well. I think that Duck Squad, what was it? Duck Troop?
Duck Club.
Duck Club. I think they've got a good draft
You
here.
have thrown like 6 different names out here for this team now.
Yeah, it should be Snoop Troop. That's so much easier.
Also, I don't think I've ever heard that analogy for Zeus with Lightning Storm is equal to a squid inking.
Yeah, he just inks himself, you know? He's just like, oh, get away from me.
That
Lightning Storm or whatever.
That might be the weirdest analogy I've heard, but it's such a fitting one for Zeus here. A round squad out for kind of both these teams, looking at their rosters, or looking at their gods, I should say here, kind of in a vacuum, kind of looking to this one. Which of these two rosters do you really kind of favor a little bit more here, Miff?
I like Ducks. I like them, the Ducks, the left side of the screen. I feel like Loki's got a great matchup in a Soul. Disapparate's a good tool to disengage, but you have to fully channel it. My man's going to be sneaking up on you more often than not, and Zeus goes hard.
Well, let's see if Duck Club can close this out, or can JUSTF6 bring it to another potential Game 3. Let's jump right in to Game number 2.
Gonna require a lot for JUSTF6 in Game 2. The Duck Club have a hell of a draft here, a lot of aggression. And an interesting rotation out of JUSTF6, searching for someone, but clearly read by Duck Club. Pings on the map know where this entire squad is. And so outside of some absurd mispositioning, nothing will come of this rotation from JUSTF6. And I talk about overcoming, heavy obstacles here if you're JUSTF6. Duck Club now have a style of draft core that is able to play aggressive and in your face. Ducky's got himself Gilgamesh. Luconium on Loki, which has been obnoxious. I really look at Hurrywind though on Bacchus. Not a pick we've seen a whole lot of, but a very, very aggressive option.
Yeah, and something that I'm excited to watch how he plays it, because Bacchus, I mean, based on what we saw out of Atlas early last game, Hurry wants to play aggressive. Bacchus can do that, but he does take a lot more mana in order to kind of sustain that level of attention. And so that'll be interesting to see how he handles that. Plus, along with a Chiron, not necessarily a lane matchup and a lane pairing that I think of too often. But this is going to be very fun once they hit level 5. Oh my god, Snoopy takes a lot of damage there. But belly flop into like Intoxicate is one of the best in my eyes, like Guardian ults when it comes down to getting damage out there. It's very, very comfortable for you, as well as the just in general CC that it applies. Is very fun.
Level 2 reached for Snoopy and Hurrywind. Will they stay at level 2? No, Rotwin and Toddy also reach it on that last minion. So a sliver of an opportunity to be aggressive with a 1-level lead has given Snoopy and Hurrywind just a bit of a drop over Toddy and Rotwin.
They just cringe ganked their own lane.
It did, and it was great. Moswell in the mid lane, though. He's being real-time ganked. No cringe here for Maskill in the mid. And the immobile Zeus will live to fight another day. Luconium in range to provide some counter gank. So action early, Gore, but no kills.
I really like the way the duo lane specifically played that. I think when you look at what happened in mid, that's just a classic disengage. But trying to get to Toddy while he was still level 1 and trying to cut him off, if that burp had been able to find the stun as opposed to Toddy getting the leap when he hit level 2, it would have opened up not only first blood, but a huge amount of control on the left-hand side of the map for Duck Club.
I wonder where. Gore, the hat's got to drop somewhere here. We've got half HP. A bunch of players of JUSTF6. Now Luconium also half HP. Maskill easily winning this fight. Luconium falls for first blood, and there is no answer from Moswell. Disapparate out from Sotos, and it'll be a clean kill over to JUSTF6.
Yeah, not enough damage that Moswell can output just yet to make it really last and hurt Sotos the way that he would like to. So not only get a clean first blood, but you get away with it, you get to back up and pretty much still get all the farm. You will be losing your red buff, though, as they wait it out. And this is the glory I think that Duck Club has. They did this very similar last time. You lose the first blood, but then you maintain aggression somewhere else. They actually have to back away, so they don't even get the camp steal. And that's just unfortunate. I think they thought it was going to spawn just a smidge faster. And unfortunately for them now they're just flat behind in terms of gold. Not too much, but that first blood is really going to pay dividends in mid for a while.
Now this was something that we saw a lot in game 1, though. Duck Club a little bit behind in the gold. Be a 1,000 or so spike for JUSTF6, but then Duck Club would shrink up that gap. And so Duck Club, first blood in general. Nice ricochet from Toddy. Snags a stun there. But Duck Club in general already has shown us that they can come back from these small discrepancies. Belch out from Hurrywind, up down from Toddy, but Rotwin is here as well. Uh-oh, masked kill on the left side of the map as well. Snoopy should be able to gallop away from this one. Nice knockup from Hurrywind, but it's a dash over the wall from Maskill, a dash in as well from Rotwin, and another kill over to JUSTF6. But now Luconium has made his way left. Hurrywind should have Belch up here shortly. Is there enough damage to finish off any of these kills? Luconium turns his eyes back towards Rotwin, and somehow Maskill will live to fight another day. Luconium blinks back through, and Duck Club come up empty-handed.
If they had been able to get that kill on the Maskill, I think it opens up not only level 5 for Luconium and for Hurry, but a huge potential to swing that lane. So great for Maskill to stay alive there. Good use of his mobility to close the gap between himself and Snoopy, but also to disengage from a Loki. Very difficult to do, but he managed to do it just before that ultimate comes online and made it a little easier for himself. And this is a good start for JUSTF6. I mean, good control. I'd like to see something more come out of it. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to find anything like an invade on any side of the jungle because all of the camps have been down even when they do get the advantage. And it's not like there's timing for them to really explore big bosses.
Double knockup from Hurry, and Snoopy has got the damage. And that was a perfect grouping for Hurrywind on his belly flop in from Rotwin and Toddy. A double knock up. The burp was then on the other side. And Snoopy just got plenty of damage out on this Chiron. And so similar to game one, Gore, it's exactly what the Duck Club needed after the way the early game has went. Now Luconium's got his ultimate, and Luconium's got a kill. We won't go, I was going to say 1 and 4. I guess the opportunity's still there. But we won't fall down that heavily in the early game for Luconium. He'd be able to make a play happen on right.
And that's just payback, right? You should have gotten that kill in duo, and it was just Masked Kill playing the God very well that got him out of there. But Snoopy now has to be careful. He might die.
Yeah, he might. He is. Snoopy overextends. And that's the knife edge that Snoopy plays on. The type of player who will play aggressive. He will look for the solo kills. Caught a bit off guard there. And it ends up being a 2v1 fall for Snoopy. And that is brutal after that lane finally gets some breathing room. Especially if Hurrywin dies here. The belly flop pulled out by Maskill. And JUSTF6 can do no wrong in the early.
That might just be the most unfortunate spot for that to have happened. I think if Hurry's able to belly flop pretty much anywhere else that is clear around that red buff over the wall, probably fine, and at least happy with it, although maybe not able to escape the running gods behind him at that point. But that is good from Maskill. He uses his ult, reads right into what you have. He's the only god that he's going, no, I'm sorry, he'll be able to do that to Gilgamesh as well, but realistically, the only god that you're going to find that consistently on. And a good kill onto the support early on, plus Snoopy's been put into the ground twice. I think this is a very comfortable spot for JUSTF6 to continue this amount of control. Although Dave, and this is wild to me, I didn't even think about it, Duck Club have the gold lead.
They do. Duck Club somehow winning this game. And if they, it's an interesting style of composition, right? Where when you're rolling the dice every time you play this aggressively, it just hasn't quite worked out. But, oh, that was near. I mean, that's good beats from Oswald. Nearly really needed him. If that stun would have connected from Rotwin, but not quite there. And so JUSTF6 are able, or Duck Club rather, able to back away. And that's what we haven't seen much from Gore, is this Zeus out of the mid lane. And this Zeus out of the mid lane has a helmet to start off his build. And so, and an Eye of the Jungle to start off his build. So we're going to need to see where the damage starts to roll in one of these team fight phases.
This is the second time we've seen this start, though, right? I mean, we've seen something very, very similar. I don't think it was the Eye of the Jungle at the time, but we saw the helmet picked up earlier on by Soul, I want to say, over in the duo lane. I remember me and you talked about it, so it definitely happened today. It's been a long day.
Hurrywin, belly flops in. That's a 3-man Intoxicate.
Wow!
And Moswell drops the Lightning Storm on top. Maskill down, and Duck Club finally capitalize on some of that aggressive engage. Luconium, he wants a little bit more. Doesn't have his ultimate, but got the damage on Rotwin, who has to dash off to the side. Sotos has no mana. And so JUSTF6 will only lose 1. Let's open up the door, though, for Ducky to stay aggressive, find some pressure over here in the solo lane. Listimics doesn't have his ultimate. Ducky will not look for the dive.
Props where props are due. That was a really good knock-up from Hurry, a really good Intoxicate, and a great ult from Moswell. And it's very similar, at least trajectory, as game number 1. The early game so far hadn't been the cleanest from Duck Club, but at the end of the day, they're winning the fights when they really need to, even if it does, fall a little short at the very, very beginning of the game. And as this continues, I think that ult combo is something you got to be worried about. The control of locking people into Moswell's ult, the damage that he's going to be able to get down as he continues building items and stacking up that power. That detonate's going to hit incredibly hard on people like Sotos or Toddy. And so you're going to have to be even more careful about avoiding this Zeus. And even though it's not the same as when we saw the big Book of the Dead a few months ago, where it was, hey, good luck killing Zeus, he's just going to get a massive shield and then laugh at you while you die in front of him. Now he's just going to laugh at you while you die in front of him because he can deal the damage necessary.
Hurrywin, Gore, I think the, I'm intrigued by Moswell's build here, Gore. It continues on. The helmet into the Void Stone. Going a bit hybrid on this Zeus. I guess he's tanky enough to survive all this. Lightning Storm back down. Not tanky enough, but there's the damage setup. 1-for-1 trade. And Moswell may be realizing support style play right now is the way to be. Maskill goes down, and it's all been Maskill, hasn't it, on this Awelix. And the pressure that he's put out. Hurrywin, 1 stun connects, and that's the double for Luconium, and there is no kill on the back end. We are at a breakneck pace. 10 kills in 9 minutes. And it's really the Duck Club that have been benefiting. 1.5K or so gold in the lead.
And honestly, that trade still ends up favorable. It's unfortunately you lose Maswal, but killing Sodos and Maskill in the grand scheme is incredible for you right now. Already Luconium's getting off to a much better start. You had mentioned it earlier, made the joke, can't go 1-4. At the time he was 1-1. Well, now he definitely can. He's 3-1.
That's right.
And this Loki has definitely been making his impact on this game known. And it feels very similar. And this is something, I'm going to meme Hurry for a little bit, but like, admittedly, when you play on a team like the Dragons, one of the things that ends up happening, I think inevitably, is that your mid lane, while some games is going to be like a hard carry, most games is still going to be kind of falling in that like pseudo support role where they're really helping set up, they're setting the damage up so somebody else can get the kills. And I think that's kind of where Maswal is right now. That Lightning Storm, despite losing his life, does so much to set up his team.
Belch no good on the Maskill, but the stun is there. That is a lot of burst damage. Well played by Maskill. Nearly turned that around. Luconium literally playing with fire as Sodos drops the hammer. And the Loki, we have seen 1-for-1 trades involving Loki and Maskill on cooldown. Watch out, Horus is about to be here. Snoopy's gonna learn that the hard way. He will gallop away, turns back around, and sends some damage Toddy's way. One more shot, but it's just short. And JUSTF6 grabs another. These teams, Gore, refuse to have a lopsided fight. We have been getting a kill for two, maybe at best. And this time it's the latter for JUSTF6, but again, the gold lead remains 1.4K. 1.4K in the experience as well.
This is going to be topsy-turvy. I was waiting to see when the next fight broke out. Inevitably, it happens in mid. Hurry is going to be forced to run away here. I don't know that he's going to be able to make it out.
Belly
fly. He needs mana. He's got it. That's just enough to make that work, right? He just got the mana for that. Plus, they get that Pyromancer, so that feels pretty solid for them. Yeah, as long as Ducky stays alive, yeah, they'll be fine. The fight's literally not done.
Oh, Luconium stun on a mass kill. There's the knockup. And now Luconium is the one who goes down. Gore, all right,
wait, I got to jump into it immediately because otherwise they're going to start fighting, Dave.
No, hold on. I'm going to practice something with you. Let's both close our eyes.
Are you sure?
Yep, and take a deep breath. In we go. Out we go.
Something's going to happen. I'm getting anxious.
Right. You can open your eyes again. We can both open our eyes.
The anxiety was very big.
We've been going absolutely nuts here. We're going on our 9th hour of broadcast, and these teams playing at lightning pace. And it's difficult to keep up with at times. You're absolutely right, though, Gore. And you got to get your thoughts in here. And I'm going to direct you where I think all of the pressure has been. And it's been both of these junglers. Feels like Maskill and Luconium have been setting everything up.
The two of them comprise 8 of the 14 kills. I guess total it's, 6 plus 5, so 11 of the 14 kills.
Yep.
And also 7 of the 14 deaths. Like, they are the forefront of these fights. And they're causing a whole ton of what's going on. And then when you add in the factor, or maybe take out the factor of what is these supports, it really is the pressure ultimately onto Snoopy that's being felt the most, right? He's the one outside of the junglers who has died the most, who is getting focused down. And he almost had that turnaround in that last fight. Unfortunately, just shy of getting that kill and getting the reset. Granted, I don't know that reset saves his life. He probably just comes back to life and then gets immediately sat on. But it does open up the conversation for aggression from JUSTF6 here, despite the fact that they've been in a little bit of a gold deficit, and it continues growing for Duck Club, despite some of the fights not going their way. I think this Gold Fury has just scaled in importance here, because if JUSTF6 get it, it's a dead even game. And with the way the fights have been going, maybe things are even more in their favor. But if you can get it for Duck Club, then you're set for, not necessarily life, but at least for the game.
Stimic's under pressure from Ducky here, but as we so often seen, Maskill is right around the corner. Winds of Shamash. Here come Hurrywind and Luconium. This is a 3 versus 2. If there's a re-engage, stun out, beads for Maskill. Prevent the initial stun, but it won't prevent the drop kick. Maskill melted through, and the Duck Club, namely Hurrywind with the Intoxicate, able to grab it, but here comes Sodos now on the late engage. Watch out for this ultimate. Should be big damage onto Hurrywind, but not enough.
Sodos is going to be able to follow up, and look, Listimics can continue this chase. This is actually a bad spot for Duck Club.
The drop kick will keep Hurrywind alive, and no one is rotating in behind him. There's fighting happening on the left side of the map as well. Way too much going on here. Maswal has gotten a couple of kills in all of this. There's way too much chaos. What we can say for sure, Gore, is Duck Club is getting everything and JUSTF6 is getting nothing.
Those were 3 individual fights going on. It was a 1v1 there for Snoopy, it was a 1v1 there for Moswell, and then it was a whatever number remaining for everybody else on the right-hand lane. The fact that Snoopy stays alive, not Snoopy, Hurrywind stays alive through all of that is absolutely insane to me as well. He was incredibly low, able to leap away and continue a chase. But we get to take a look at what Snoopy was able to do, and I guess I stand corrected. It ended up being a 2v2. It gets separated slightly, and he's low. I mean, Dave, look at this. This is not the position anybody should be able to fight back from. But Snoopy recognizes the range, recognizes the damage he can get, gets the reset if it had been necessary, but also a kill. Sets up Moswell for another one because at that point, Toddy's incredibly low. And it just creates a smooth sailing on the left-hand side. Now your carries are feeling confident.
And that is when this Duck Club team looks scary, when the confidence starts to roll, and they've also got the golden experience to back it up. And that's the case so far in game number 2. Experience largely even. Gold, though, has continued to roll for the Duck Club. Gold Fury still stands 15 minutes in. Moswell finally gets a traditional mid-lane item in his build in the Sphere of Desolation. Rotwin might not be here to participate in the Gold Fury fight. Duck Club takes down the Fury. Snoopy in his ultimate sends some damage JUSTF6's way, and a blink for Maskill will disengage.
I will also say, and so far, I mean, Maskill having to use his blink is actually unfortunate, but there's been a lot of like displacement, whether it's drop kicks, but blinks, ults, things that just move people around the map has been nuts this game, and keeping track of like individual movement is impressive. Maskill's looking for a little bit more. I mean, they're going to get aggressive. This is actually a good fight, potentially, to take.
Oh my god, it's massive from Ducky! A drop kick turns into 3 stuns, but there's just no follow-up on it from the rest of the Duck Club. The disengage from JUSTF6 is immediate. Ducky will finally set up a kill. And I say finally for the rest of Duck Club. Ducky went massive in forcing JUSTF6 out of the left side jungle.
Ducky's been trying to set up kills for minutes now.
Right.
It's just that's the first one that's finally been converted. Really good on him to turn that around. That felt like a good engage for JUSTF6 literally until that drop kick happens. Everything about that drop kick turns the pace around, allows them to re-engage, continues this onslaught of a gold lead, and the kills are only 10 to 8. I mean, admittedly, it's very close, but that 8 has been sitting up there for JUSTF6 for minutes. It was 8 to 6 when I was talking about it last, so that's 4 unanswered kills minimum, and I think a little more than that, technically, for Duck Club. That has just been so consistent for them, and they've turned it into objectives. They've turned it into camp steals. Any kind of experience in gold that they can strip off the map, they've been finding it.
Gore, I don't know if it's the broadcast length or just the way that this game has gone, but like, it starts to wear you down a little bit by the end of it here. We got so many kills, so much fighting between the Duck Club and JUSTF6.
They are fighting a lot.
They are fighting a lot. Remember at the top of the broadcast, though, that's something we talked about. You look at the EU SEC last year versus the North American SEC. I mean, it's just a strict play style difference between some of the teams. You know, take your preference. EU likes to be slower, more methodical, set the stage, you know, burn the objectives, and really build up a foundation. We see North American teams that do the opposite. We are fighting from minute 1, and that's the way that this game has felt. More that North American just cage match style of Smite game. And early on, JUSTF6 was able to answer, but it felt like none of the objectives were going to JUSTF6. All the farm, all of the jungle camps were there for the Duck Club. And so, though the kills have been answered, the gold hasn't quite been. And now the Duck Club have set themselves the stage. Too many thes in that sentence for me. 4.7K experience, 5.7K gold. And Gore, you know, one more big fight like that could set up for a Fire Giant pull. Plenty of burn now as Moswell has really got some damage online in that build. And with the way Ducky's playing, I don't know, it's sort of that intangible feeling that the Duck Club is starting to roll here towards the game 2 win. Unless this Horus ultimate changes things. Toddy gets some damage out from Snoopy. He'll go up and over. You know, that's on me. I talked for more than 15 seconds while a fight wasn't happening, and now we're right back into it. Ducky will rotate in, drop the winds of Shamash. There's a lot of damage from Luconium, and it is plenty to get the kill onto Toddy.
Now they're going to be able to get the disengagement. Look at this. Duck Club recognize that they're poised for success here. You're going to have the drop kick off cooldown relatively soon. I mean, there's not a Fury on this side. You need something a little bit more. 1 kill's great. You can push this tower. You can probably go for tier 2 with the backs that just happened. I think they have the potential to force a fight here. Either make JUSTF6 very uncomfortable, maybe steal some from the obelisk, but at least get some pressure on this tier 2.
Stun from Hurrywind. Doesn't set up for much, not just yet. And look out for Ducky. The drop kicks have been
Look at
absurd,
Maskill.
to say the absolute least. I am looking at Maskill, and so have Duck Club. 6 times, in fact, 4 and 6. Maskill was off to a great start on this Wheelix, but has dropped down to 4 and 6 here as of late. There's just been enough of an answer. And Luconium, you could say something similar. Started off at 3 and 1. It is now 4 and 3, so there's been an answer to the Loki here as well. But Oswald is starting to get those gears turning, and Sotos is starting to get those gears turning. But just hasn't been there consistently over the last couple of engagements from JUSTF6. You wonder how comfortable, though, Gore, this Duck Club team starts to get in considering a Fire Giant pull.
Now here's where I think their comfort will come from. We've already seen them want to fight, so that's A. They're happy to take a fight. If that means they're out Fire Giant, they'll do it. The other one is it's, well, 46 seconds away, but the Belt of Insatiable Hunger that was just built up there by Heroin. Yeah, Rotwin's dead. That's what happened there.
I have
You're
never
wondering.
seen someone have less control over what game they're playing than Rotwin just now. Absurd. Everything connecting there, and that one kill is enough to give Duck Club the Fire Giant, and what you would think, Gore, is an opening to end this game here, almost at will. There's 2 tier 2 towers left. You got 15 seconds without Rotwin, so you're at least going to get a 5v5, but Duck Club have a commanding lead.
In literally 20 seconds. It took them 20 seconds to take what I thought was going to end up being a fight a minute plus away and kill somebody and get a Fire Giant. I mean, it was very fast. Maskill, as well, had been lurking in the jungle and might have been able to find something big there. But now that they don't have to have used it for a Fire Giant or a fight like that, I'll still talk about this Belt of Insatiable Hunger. And I'm going to talk about it specifically in combination with this Fire Giant and a
wear
team
that
trying
belt.
to siege.
What a horrible belt to wear.
Well, it's actually real good. So realistically, you only need to read the yellow text here. If you get the kill or an assist on an enemy god while it's active, it's going to refresh. Now, it's lasting for 8 seconds. And so it's a, damage increase 15%, attack speed increase 25%. Getting those resets, the assist or kill, means that you are going to be able to slaughter a team underneath a tower or a Phoenix here. If they group up on JUSTF6, it's going to be feast or famine. And so I'm really interested to watch what they're going to do in response here.
I said Duck. Doug, can you rehover the belt? How long is the initial buff duration?
8 seconds.
So it's 8 seconds is the
And then it refreshes
so you have
to
8 seconds to find a kill. That's a long time.
Yeah.
In Smite, 8 seconds is like forever. That is insatiable. That belt is insatiably hungry.
Yeah, it is.
You get an unlimited frenzy, it feels like, for an entire team fight. Although if you're killing at the pace that Duck Club are, an entire team fight might last 8 seconds anyway. But just
they're
to
also
confirm,
dying at the pace that they're killing, so realistically you might lose it.
Gore, are you intrigued by, well, I was going to say the pace of this Fire Giant push, but there hasn't been much fighting because there hasn't been much pushback. But Duck Club have gotten everything they can so far. Tier 2 on right, Tier 2 in mid. The Fury goes down, only the Tier 2 in left. Just because they haven't grouped up and shoved stuff down doesn't mean they're not making use of the FG buff. And so they've opened up 2 Phoenixes and looking like a third on the left side.
I will say I am surprised by it still, though. 2 minutes left on the power play. There wasn't the massive reset that we're used to seeing from either you get Fire Giant and you push, you get Fire Giant, you knock a tower, you reset, then you grab whatever's left. It feels like the reset timer was a little bit longer overall for Duck Club before going back. And admittedly, like you said, they get a Fury, they get a tower, they do get a little bit for their time. But it does leave them a much more limited actual engagement here because they have a minute and a half of a power play left to mess with. Well, they should be able to push down the tower no problem. Getting into a Phoenix, even with the Belt of Insatiable Hunger, it might be a little more complicated than they'd like.
I don't know where that ricochet just came. I mean, it didn't mean anything, but just like a slow arrow, like bouncing off a wall and flying its way in, just caught me off guard. My brain's in a weird place, Corey. You're gonna have to just bear with me.
Look, Hugi's a flashy, fun god. I understand.
For what we assume will be one of the last fights in this game, you'll have to hang with me, Gore. As the Duck Club, despite a back and forth early game, have wrangled control of game number 2, and the favorites of our 4th and final set on the precipice of moving on in the winner's bracket and sending JUSTF6 down to the loser's bracket. Need a big setup from Rotwin, maybe a flashy play on this Horus to sort of outposition the Duck Club in the way that they're going to be rounding themselves around these Phoenixes. Snoopy makes his way in, finds some damage on the left bird, but it won't mean much. On the mid lane, Phoenix receiving pressure from 2. Ducky drops Winds of Shamash. Luconium continues to work down the minions. Half HP left on the mid lane Phoenix.
And this is a good position to be in. Already weakened, very easy to be able to get aggressive, but they haven't even grouped up yet. All relics are available. I think this is a good spot to be in. Admittedly, losing 2 ults for Duck Club will slow things down, but not enough.
Masked Kill will not die, but Masked Kill is taken out of the fight. That should be a mid lane Phoenix, and it sure is. Rotwin being whittled away. Toddy up and over. Lightning Storm down. Maswal on a killing spree. Duck Club, they've got 5, and they've got eyes for the Titan. Toddy with the Aegis. Back into the fountain he goes. Oh, now Ducky! He stayed too long. Luconium, he's the first to go down. Ducky is low on the left. Masked Kill up and over Hurrywind, who sets up a kill from Oswald. And Duck Club able to answer right back.
Just barely finally goes down, but it's been staying alive so long through all that. Toddy is going to get some good return damage, but that is all she wrote. Luconium goes away, Ducky goes away, and that does shut that down. 30 seconds for a Fire Giant. I'm going to say, if you're going to die, that might be the best timing they have, because there's not going to be enough of JUSTF6 available before the respawns for Duck Club come through. That Fire Giant's going to get burned without them. So they'll be able to reset. They'll be able to find what they want. They get a Phoenix and a bunch of towers, a bunch more gold. I mean, at this point, Dave, they're absolutely rich and loaded and making Scrooge McDuck jealous. But it is still a little bit a full vault to swim in.
A bigger swimming pool full of gold coins.
Now, do you know, this is something I think about often, as much as, because I love cartoons and I love like the suspension of disbelief for stuff like that, but also how much it would hurt to try and jump on a giant pile of metal like that.
Right, I mean, even if they're like
you would
chocolate,
break several
even if they're
bones.
like chocolate coins, that would hurt, right? I mean, diving head first. I was going to say anything but water, but that's not true. There's a whole list of things you could dive in that's not water that would be comfortable.
Most liquids.
Yeah, most liquids.
Depending on the height of the dive.
Feathers.
Feathers?
Blankets. I guess depending on how many.
Now, would feathers give too much? This might be getting way too far away from the game. Would feathers give too much that you would hit the ground?
That's right. It depends on how many feathers there are. You're right, Gore. We got to do the
last. Does it weigh more than steel?
What weighs more, a pound of steel or a pound of feathers, Gore? That's the question.
Well, steel is heavier than feathers.
That's right. Pyromancer knocked down by the Duck Club. The Fire Giant will fall as well. This one not enhanced. 2.5 minutes remaining. 3.5 minutes. I can do math, I promise, until that one becomes enhanced. But the Duck Club were able to knock down both objectives on the right side of the map. They've got eyes towards the right side Phoenix. Like the reset already happened, Gore. You group up, you take down the FG, and now you've got your full 4-minute buff to hopefully push down another one of these Phoenixes. Mid lane still halfway done. Not a great way to start with Ducky outdueling Masked Kill, and if you can slow down those backs, you're going to have a great opportunity with a lopsided fight on right.
This is going to be a golden opportunity. Masked Kill still resetting. I mean, you've got the numbers advantage. You should be able to get aggressive. Ducky's in a good spot. Masked Kill's going to be able to join the fray a lot faster than I think they would have liked. That's going to slow down the ability to siege into the Phoenix immediately. But I look towards where Blink is, up and available. 10 seconds left on the Phoenix. Luconium's going to be able to get aggressive. I don't think JUSTF6 should try to force the fight.
No, I want to leave. I want to go now.
They want to go in.
Sends damage toward JUSTF6. Massive wins of Shamash from Ducky, who is pulled into the back line. And it's the Ducky show. He is controlling everything in the back, but he's only able to grab a kill for his team. JUSTF6 fighting back. Are you kidding me? Masked Kill comes up big. And the Phoenix defense for JUSTF6 is there.
Honestly, it could be a little bit more than that as well. 4 towers up, so I don't think it's the end of the game. Although if they get these kills, this could be huge for JUSTF6.
Maswal has got to go massive here. He's able to get Toddy down, which will slow down the push, if there is one, from JUSTF6. But Sotos is still around.
You got to be careful here,
Got to be a real delayed deicide. If Maswal ends up going down, at least takes one with him. Nearly took 2. Almost a big play from Maswal. But the story of the game now, Gore, is completed, turned around, and repelled. Phoenix pushes. JUSTF6 is here to play.
They're going to get a little bit off the table only because Sotos is alive and can find damage. I mean, Sotos was almost last man standing. Listimix being alive is close to a miracle for him. But realistically, a lot of what Masked Kill does, so the immediate kill onto Luconium is impressive. It's just a lot of damage immediately to burn him down. Ducky and Hurry, I will say, get a little tunnel vision-y. They do get a kill for it. Hurry almost finds a second, but Sotos has too much healing for a single Bacchus to do. With the rest of the team as separated as they were, it felt like it was going to be big for somebody. It's just lucky enough for Masked Kill to pick all of those up. Now he's 8-8-3. Remember, he's 4-4. It's wild how many kills that they've been able to do on just a single person. At this point, I mean, give him a few more assists. Fights keep going this way. We might be looking at a triple-double.
Those are rare, but
They're-
always
they're
fun to watch.
very rare.
You know, it's my fault.
I think the last one we got in the SPL was Sam in like
Watch out,
phase 2,
Corso.
season 7.
Where are they going to go? Over to the right. Nobody's there. All right, unlucky. But maybe we'll catch the Duck Club off guard. Ducky wants to go in. Winds of Shamash separates this fight. We're not fighting over anything, but JUSTF6 finds a kill onto the solo lane of Luconium. Answers back. It's a big play from the jungler. Duck Club are repelled a couple of times, but they will be denied no further. They've got 4 against 2, and they will go back in, and Duck Club will finally end this game. Luconium at the forefront.
You got to run it right down mid. Masskill's still someone to be threatened by, but you have to get in there. Hurry's a little slow. They have the team. They've got the pressure. This Phoenix is weakened. And yeah, they should be able to control this. This has not been as clean-cut of a game as I thought it would be. I mean, you have to look at this. Look at the gold difference between these two teams as of right now. 16,000. And it has been hovering around that. And if they get kills, Masskill could go huge just trying to shut them down. I mean, look at that. They take some damage out of that.
I appreciate it. That was ridiculous burst and humorous that Luconium ends up going down. But the Duck Club, excuse me, in their massive gold lead, ultimately not denied. So we'll call it a learning opportunity.
Moswell's just laughing.
We'll call it a learning opportunity for the Duck Club, Gore, because, I mean, that's a huge gold lead that got repelled on a Phoenix Siege twice, right? And so if you look at maybe an idea, obviously you love a clean win, right? You love that more than anything. But maybe an ideal scenario for this Duck Club team and improving into the future is, okay, where did we go? Like real hard data points on where things went wrong and addressing that moving forward. And I think also giving JUSTF6 some confidence maybe. And this is one of the favorites to challenge for one of those SPL spots in the Duck Club. And JUSTF6 battled them to the end despite being down like 20K gold.
And I think that's, one, impressive for what we're going to see out of JUSTF6, I think, for the rest of the bracket. But realistically, a good showing that, you know, even though you've got this massive amount of talent on Duck Club, that they are still manageable, right? And that's something, like you said, that they need to go home, think about tonight, before they get into tomorrow, before we get into Friday, see where their games are going to take them, because they need to plan out how to fix those small mistakes if they want to be able to make it to the SPL. Because we've talked a lot about them. We'll get to see them tomorrow, but the Oni Homies and the Winter Dogs will capitalize on things like that. Yep. And so it'll test the mettle for every team here.
It was a long, fun day. I was happy to do it with you, Gormizer. Duck Club able to take our 4th and final set of the day, 2-0. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the desk will take us home.
I got something you really can't handle. A little charge in your heart, ready to dismantle.
one final time here for today on the desk. Duck Club come up with a 2-0 victory over Just F6, and they'll move their way through the winner's bracket. But Just F6, even with this loss, don't forget, they do still have tomorrow to continue making their runs. They still have the lower bracket in order to make their opportunity to go through here. But what a performance out of Duck Club. Kind of our first look at this, new roster here of some of the old guards, some of the, new guard in here with Luconium, especially over in that jungle role, kind of seeing how this team got to come together. And again, it was another one of those games where it felt like Just F6 kind of had that early control. They were off to a real early start. But there was one fight in particular in that mid lane that I was watching where you do see Rotwin go up in that Horus ultimate, and you see two people next to him. You're like, all right, this is going to be a nice and easy kill in the mid lane. And then it was just Rotwin who dove in there. And then finally the team collapses in, but it engages for so long that Luconium's able to rotate and get a duo. And then from there, you're able to see Duck Club kind of move forward. And then that poor kill over by the Fire Giant, Fringes didn't get to play the game.
Yeah, I mean, there were some clear points of improvement that I think both the teams can take away from this set. In particular, Duck Club probably wants to clean up that early game a little bit, and Just F6 needs to start running with their leads a little bit more. Both games this set, we saw Just F6 kind of control the first 3 or 4 kills of the game, which should net you at least some neutral farm ahead, maybe even an objective if you're able to consistently do that. But each time they were able to establish a 2,000 gold lead, it was immediately responded to by Duck Club. So if Duck Club could just shore up that early game, all of a sudden they're a consistent threat throughout the entirety of it, and they won't have to play into that deficit throughout the mid game. I think that both teams perform incredibly well. One of the question marks coming into the set for Duck Club in particular was Hurrywin's ability to transition himself into that support role. I would argue that Hurrywin was one of the more consistent players here today. He was constantly finding engages. The Bacchus play, in particular in Game 2, was very impressive. Multi-man flops, found a lot of engagements, was closing gap into that back line. Despite playing a very safe pick in Seoul, it felt like Sotos was having a very hard time peeling himself off of Hurrywin as well. So I think that if that was our major concern coming into this set or for this team, I think a lot of fans can be alleviated. They can feel fine. Look, Hurrywin did it. He's all right at support.
He's all right. I remember I did
that
see
was good. He's good.
He's good at support, and that's a good starting point as we kind of get to see the general kind of base level of this team jumping into this tournament. They got plenty of competition throughout the entire weekend, so we can see how much more of these guys improve and kind of really see where their thresholds start lying through here. And even having to play box against an Awilish, never a fun matchup for that support, because basically your only initiation or your only disengage is immediately shut down by the press of a single 4 button. You're almost guaranteed to have to pick up a beads if you really want to deal with it. But Duck Club do make some very nice strides here in their first set. And for our post-game interview, we've actually got one of our other former SPL players here, the solo laner, Ducky, standing by. It's been a while since we got to talk to you, Ducky. First off, congratulations on your set. Tell me a little bit how you're feeling with this new team now that you've kind of gotten your first competitive set under your belt.
I mean, we looked perfectly clean those 2 games. Nothing else I can say, really.
Yeah, you think so?
Wait, what are you trying to say, Myth?
I didn't say anything.
Uh-huh.
It was your interview.
No, we've been working well together. Obviously, we didn't have a lot of time to put teams together, but I think this tournament we should have in the bag, and I just want to prepare for SPL afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of kind of change-ups in the solo lane. I want to talk about one pick in particular, kind of this Amaterasu that's really risen up. I mean, we've seen just how much priority a lot of teams have had with it. We got to see your play with it in that first game. Is Amaterasu really just that good right now?
I mean, she's good, but she's so boring, man. Like that first game.
Oh, my God.
What do you mean? I'm just avoiding Tear Fearless and clearing the wave. Then I walk over to a fight. Oh, we won the game.
Oh, man. So the rise of Amaterasu, the rise of Teleport now coming back in as well. We've been seeing a lot of crazy plays back and forth with that one. But more than anything, as you guys are moving into your other, kind of your other games here, what's some of the expectations you have towards maybe working on things from this set into your future ones?
Hopefully no early deaths. We'll clean that up. Maybe don't kick the Huyi into the fountain. We'll stop that. Just maybe play cleaner Smite, and we don't mess about as much, I would say.
Well, Ducky, thanks for stopping by for a post-game interview. Congrats on your set. I look forward to seeing what you guys can do for the rest of the tournament.
All right, thank you.
What solo laners do you like while I got you here?
I don't know if they're even going to have his audio.
He likes Sun Wukong and Jormungandr. That's what this guy likes.
He also likes Tier. I mean, he did play a decent bit of Tier.
He likes the safe, unkillable picks. He either wants to have CC immune ultimates, or he wants to be healing off waves, or he wants to be invisible in a somersault cloud. Ducky, you're so he's doing the L dance. Get out of here.
And the funniest part about
You
it
won.
is the gods that he says he hates playing is usually the ones he performs the best on. The gods that he's like, I don't want to play this because I don't want to deal with, X, Y, or Z, like Odin, Hercules, are usually the ones that he kind of just goes crazy with. But always fun to have Ducky out here into the solo lane. You never know what you're going to get from that player in that role, respectively. And at least it's a good start out here for Duck Club to get their first win of the tournament.
It is. Just staying on that winner side of the bracket is going to be so important for a 5-day event. If you can just alleviate or stay away from a couple of sets, if you don't want to have to go into the grand finals with like a disadvantage either. So I think that is very good for the Duck Club to make sure that they're starting off right.
Yes, and they will move on in the winner's bracket. And that's all that we have for today. As you can see the schedule, a
that's
nice
it.
little review. For today, we're done. But Mifflin, you, me, Gore, Dave, we're back here again tomorrow for another 4 sets. And for 2 of those sets, we're going to be sending people home. JUSTF6 and Thunderhead and the Neighborhood and Reverse Card are going to be fighting for their last opportunities to stay in this tournament. Meanwhile, Oni Homies versus Samsara and Winter Dogs versus Nobody's Favorite on the top side of the bracket. And those guys are going to be fighting for their opportunity to stay on the upper end of the brackets and trying to avoid some of those eliminations games. Big sets tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the Oni Homies, and I'm going to struggle a lot. I hope I'm not casting that set, because I will call them the Oni Warriors, almost just guaranteed from here on out. But look, man, it's an SPL squad that was hailed as a super team when the SPL was first starting up last phase. I have high expectations from here. I'm sure the fans at home really do expect the Oni Homies to make it. I don't know, though. I like seeing some upsets.
Yeah, there's going to be some exciting sets all week long. Day number 1 is done, but be sure to tune back in tomorrow, same time, 11 a.m. EST, for day number 2 of the SPL play-ins. We'll see you tomorrow.